Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the SHR Media Inauguration Preview Show. And tonight we have the entire SHR crew starting up here. Dang it. Jersey Joe, the Reaver of Common Sense, down below me and under Joe and with the angle. There it is. Big E for Mission Ready Men. And finally, down below me, because of gravity, the bulbous one himself.
Thank you. Thank you.
BZ from the Berserk Bobcat Saloon. Gentlemen, always a pleasure to have the whole team together. How are you?
How are you? How are you? How are you?
What's up?
Real rousing radio, guys. Good job. So, thought we'd be better at this by now, but here we go. So, the inauguration tomorrow. There's a bunch to talk about. Mostly the move of, well, no, that's not true. I wouldn't say that's mostly. One of the biggest shocks that people are acting like is a shock that isn't, is moving the inauguration from outside to inside. I know. This is going to go quick because I think we're all in agreement. This was done for security purposes. Yes?
I always said that as president, one of the first things that I would do is kill the inauguration. You know, if I'm interested in put up or shut up, then why are we spending millions on inauguration? Have a TV camera in a room. Somebody pulls out the book. I, Donald John Trump, OMB, the guy with the dead orange cat on his head, solemnly swear, and millions, and then do the damn work.
I agree.
Me,
Joe.
Whether it was security or weather, who gives a fuck?
Yeah, it's like
it's all just a pump, and it's just a show.
Can I suggest why I think?
Well, it's pump and
personnel are upset.
Hold on, I want to get down to E. E, what do you think? He looks so like serious right now.
Yeah, he looks very serious. I don't think he can hear us.
He may be having an audio issue. He threw that at me in private chat.
Oh, okay.
We'll get back to it. I'll let him know.
If you're talking to me, yeah, it's audio's on a delay. It could very well be my connection. I'm checking that right now.
Okay.
Okay. So we'll work through that as we always do. Let's see. BZ, you were going to pontificate, so go for it.
Yeah, that's all I do.
Shouldn't you go to the bathroom for that?
I do, but that's why I wear shorts.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Very nice.
I'll be here all night. I suspect one of the aspects, not the full aspect, but one possibility is that if Trump says there were 75,323,000,000,000 and 2 trillion people at the inauguration, then all the leftists can't go, oh, we counted them all one by one, and there were 75 people at your inauguration.
Yeah, and you knew they were going to do that anyhow. I mean, He could have 2.5 million people there, and they'll say, oh, he didn't have 2.7 million people there, so it's a gigantic failure.
Yeah.
Well, they contradicted themselves in their post on X today. First, they're screaming, "Oh, there's nobody there. That's why he's moving it inside because he doesn't want to show a small crowd." But I got all these constituents contacting me and wanting a refund.
Mm-hmm.
Which is it?
I think one of the well, and 2 days ago, Secret Service pushed out the security barrier around the area. And Adam Housley reported earlier that it was not weather related as to why they moved it indoors. So that is suggesting it's security related. You know, it's only the guy who this election cycle, 2 people tried to kill him and he was shot in the air. We know I said this election cycle, the stabbing happened, I believe, before he officially.
But there was the chemical release at one of his
oh, that's true. But all the more reason, right? Where
oh no, did you see his motorcade when he was going? No, I don't mean to cut you off, but if I don't say, I'm going to forget when he was going from from his Florida home to fly out. The motorcade,
oh yeah,
anti-drone technology on 3 of the vehicles, and I've never seen that on any of the vehicles before.
And I'm sure they have. Let me rephrase that. I'm sure that's something that they've been advancing more recently within the Secret Service, because a drone strike, as we've seen in the Ukrainian war especially, is obviously a concern. So it definitely is not a shock. It was not a shock to me that this inauguration was going to be different with Trump this go around, because look, the risk is different. We know that people are taking shots at him. We know that they did the chemical release. We know somebody tried to jump on stage once and stab him. Every checkbox, if you're the Secret Service, is being marked as to why this should be done differently. And to BZ's point, yeah, I mean, I would be totally okay if the inauguration took place in the Capitol in front of both House and Senate, joint thing of Congress, just because I think they should all be there. Sign the paperwork. Have a nice day. Let's go to work.
Well, it's happened before, and it killed a president. 1985, Ronald Reagan moved it inside. Winds of 30 miles an hour plus. President Harrison had the longest inaugural address in 1841. It was cold, it was wet, it was terrible. He died a month later from pneumonia, believed to have been brought upon his inaugural address outside.
Yeah, but I also saw reports from Obama's inauguration. One of them, it was real cold out, and they were treating people that showed up with frostbite.
Right. And that's another thing you have to worry about. The people who are going is making sure they're good. So it's a non-issue.
Yeah,
it's not the
it's
weather.
nuts.
It's a security issue. We all kind of know it's a security issue. So
They have
I'm not
nothing
going to
else
spend.
complain about.
Huh?
They really have nothing to complain about, so they're going to create issues.
Well, and that's where we're at right now.
Bingo.
That's exactly what it's at. It's just looking for anything to complain. And if you follow the pant-wetting liberals on X or anything else today, you saw that they were absolutely losing their mind. If you did not watch the rally today, I will tell you, it is so nice to see a political event that is actually upbeat and kind of jovial and happy, versus the amount of doom and gloom that we've gotten at every single political speech and function for the last 4 years from the left. It was incredibly different. I mean, first of all, I did not have the Village people showing up to sing YMCA live to end the event on my bingo card for this year. I also thought
you didn't know they announced that?
No,
They
no, I thought
that
it was
2 days
awesome.
ago.
Did they really? I did not. It was great though.
Yeah.
It was a blast. It was well done. But I want to tell you or ask you this question very seriously. If in 200 years you had to look back at this election cycle, this inauguration, and you didn't know anything about it, you were thrown into it dry, and this is what you shown. Would any of that make sense to anybody?
Wait a minute, am I reading that right?
Yes.
Oh my, beautiful.
Bikers and
That's
Amish.
awesome.
You know, hashtag because why not?
I saw that and I thought that was the funniest thing. But if there's one thing that this election has done, is brought together a lot of people from a lot of different places.
Hey, yeah.
It's brought together people on the left side, in the middle, over to the right.
I'll tell you right now, and you're right, Joe, a lot of people from the left and the center have come over this election cycle. And it shows you, one of the things that I said, I think I said this back during the election, it's not even all the positivity that Trump has brought to the country. It's not all the good that Trump's doing. Some of it is the Democrats were just so bad and just so awful that people had to go somewhere else and hopefully find a new home.
Well, they keep exposing themselves what they truly are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably a year into Biden's presidency, I was I was saying that they have gone so far to the left. That pendulum swung so far to the left that it got to the point where I was like, I hope they keep doing it, because what that's going to do is push people to back to at least the center, back to at least some semblance of common sense.
And it's happened.
That's what I mean, especially when they arrested the father of that rape victim in Loudoun County, Virginia.
Oh yeah.
They started doing that and declaring those parents domestic terrorists. I knew that pendulum was so far to the left that this election cycle was bound to happen. It may not have been Trump at that point, that early on, but I knew it had to swing back to at least the center after that.
BZ, your thoughts?
We discovered that what we knew all along was true all along. And we were forced to take a stance where I would wager every one of us, for at least, okay, if you're honest, at least a microsecond, said to yourself, no, that can't really be true, can it? And it just for a second, it had you doubting yourself. You know, it's like AOC saying trans women are women. You know, how long were we going to put up with that stupid tranny shit? And the answer is, well, only as long as we were excoriated and had our jobs, etc., held over our heads and our banking, etc. And then when the country finally came around, as it's coming around now, people are emerging from their little shells like John Fetterman. Okay, John Fetterman had a stroke. John Fetterman goes into a hospital. John Fetterman goes into Walter Reed because he was kind of 5150 a little bit. In California lingo, that means he was a danger to himself, a danger to others, or gravely disabled. He comes out, it's a new John Fetterman who says, I don't mind talking to Trump, and then is completely cut off at the knees, and they're very tall knees, I might add, and said, a bad guy for wanting to consort with the enemy, which is why I may as well say up front, have the Democrats and leftists and the globalists learned anything? The answer is no. I'm with Earl. I'm completely with Earl. I say with glee, I say, please keep this up. Please keep this up. Please keep being stupid, because now we found you out for who you are, and now people are gathering the temerity to say what they've been thinking, maybe not verbalizing. They can verbalize it now, but they can say what they've been thinking for a long time, because DEI is moribund. Bye-bye.
I agreed.
Now I have a question for you three.
Okay.
And hopefully you'll understand my question. Do you think Rome knew it was going downhill? The fall of Rome was happening when it was happening?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
You bet.
You think so?
Yeah.
Because I wonder sometimes about what's going on in our country. If we may not be on a decline with all the shit that's going on. 100 years from now, they're going to be like, that was the start of the fall of the great country of the United States of America.
Yeah, well, and I think it was starting to go that way. The one thing that I think helped it is knowing that Rome fell, right? The people in this country saw what was going on. I think that as much as a lot of people were out of touch with reality, it also brought a lot of people back to reality. Like BZ says, and he said numerous times in the past, is if it doesn't matter if you don't really want to get involved in politics is going to get involved in you. And I think people were seeing that more and more, that political things starting to drive their workplace, drive their home life. And I think that forced people to the voting booth.
Can I interject here just for a second? And I want to give a very serious shout out and a kudo to Big E Jackson of Mission Ready Men. He is espousing, and has been unashamedly doing so for quite some time, in terms of religion. I find that there are, and Sean, what you just said made me think of this. unless you coalesce together in religion and throughout society, you're going to find that you're going to be eliminated if you speak nothing, if you don't push back. And Earl has been speaking cogently and logically for quite some time from a Christian perspective. And he's saying what so many others need to say from the pulpit, from the church. There need to be leaders. I don't believe in socialist Popey anymore. He's done more to harm the Catholic Church. Well, they've self-inflicted for numerous centuries over that. That's an issue for another day. But Earl has the courage and has had continuing courage to stand up against this thing. Yeah, he's a Christian. He espouses that, but he doesn't mind pushing back against all the stupid crap that's going on. And just as you said, Sean, politics is always interested in you, which means that politics is always interested in religion, because if you don't stand up, politics, leftists, Democrats, globalists will do their very level best under Thug's Law to make sure that religion is simply eradicated, except for one, and that's Islam. And that's because they fear it.
Yeah, well, and we know they fear it, and we know that they'll never oppose it on the left. One of the things, right, wrong, or indifferent, one of the things that we saw this past election was you had a lot of Muslims come out for Trump. And you had that because of all the super leftist DEI trans movement, yada, 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 that was showing up in schools that is very much against the Muslim religion as well. So it's really interesting. Tough times make for strange bedfellows at times. It became a moment of, we may not agree on everything, but we agree enough here to move forward, which is interesting. But it brings us to the big day tomorrow, and it brings us to the inauguration. And I want to start, I have a whole bunch of clips from today from the rally that I think are very, very prominent.
Excellent.
Sean, real quick.
Yeah.
One of the things I've noticed also a lot of people commentating on is how Obama and all them scream that Trump's Hitler, Trump's evil, Trump's this. And what have you seen like the last month? These get-togethers and Trump and Obama yucking it up, laughing at next to each other. And a lot of them are going, well, if you're saying he's Hitler, how can you sit there and have a conversation with him and joke with him and act like you're buddies with him?
Yeah, unless you're Mussolini.
But it showed the hypocrisy in the Democrats, and that they were just talking out their ass trying to win an election and never really meant what they said.
Well, and it goes to show you that just a month and a half earlier, Obama reshared the lie for the very fine people comments.
Yeah.
It just, 2 nights before the election?
That's so yesterday's news.
And then at the Carter funeral, they're sitting there yucking it up. So it does show you how much stagemanship goes into what they're saying, what they're doing. But I do want to move forward because we're here now. And really, I think looking forward is the best thing that we can do as a country. We obviously have to undo some things of the past. I want to see what you guys feel about this being said. Oh,
okay.
Share this tab. There we go.
As a first step toward restoring transparency and accountability to government, we will also reverse the overclassification of government documents. And in the coming days, we are going to make public remaining records relating to the assassinations of President John F. Kennedy.
Oh, yeah.
Robert Kennedy, as well as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and other topics of great public interest. It's all going to be released.
Okay. I lived through that. I lived through the Civil War, as far as that's concerned. But I lived through that.
You've lived through the actual Civil War.
That's my point. That's what I said. It was then enough to get you killed, enough to get you shot. So how many elephants? A ton of them.
A lot of elephants.
Down from an elephant, you get down from a duck. Okay, moving right along. How many elements wanted to kill people and make sure that nobody knew anything or nothing was revealed about the assassination? I mean, these are 2, 3 huge revelations that everyone has wanted to know for decades. No one has had the guts to consider. And the other question is, are those elements still around of people who would do anything to keep this cover up? So by saying that, has he placed himself in another scope?
So that's something that I can say. And no, no more humming. You're good. That's something I can say that from what he said, and I don't know if it was today or another day, everybody involved in all of those cases are now deceased. So it's interesting to see if that was the predicate for this or if that was always going to be the case anyhow. But it's interesting to see the response it gets even today. And I know the broader context of it is that we know our government does a bunch of shady shit. And we know that they've done shady shit here to its own people and abroad. And that veil needs to be lifted. We need more transparency with our government. We need more openness with our government. We don't want our government sticking their fingers in and deciding who's going to be the king of what countries and blah, 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 blah. I think sadly that's always going to happen. But to cover up murders of prominent Americans and not releasing the entirety of it, first of all, opens you up to the speculation and the conspiracy theories. Secondly, it says if we will lie to you about this, what else will we lie to you for? So it's, I think, for the American people, lifting the veil off those things will bring a certain level of trust starting to be earned back.
Do you really think so, though?
On some level.
Because in my mind, despite the fact that that he's declassifying this information, it's been so long with all the other things that they've done to make us mistrust them. How can we really trust that this information is accurate?
Well, and that's why I understand that. But I think if the information that gets declassified is essentially what we've all thought, which is the CIA killed JFK and RFK and MLK, and if that's an actual admission, and again, to your point,
yeah,
it is a little bit of they could release that because we all think that anyhow, and it's not really going to bowl anybody over. But the simple fact that somebody's actually starting to release stuff that we've talked about for years that should have been released in 1964, just to start, I think we'll start to give some validity back to certain leaders. If not, I'm not saying the organizations per se.
Here's one of the best things that I've seen. Fox News reports that Trump is going to sign an executive order tomorrow, day one, suspending the security clearances of the 51 ex-Intel officials who signed into the bullshit Hunter Biden laptop scam, the letter, which justified essentially a Biden win. It skewed the election, period. End of statement. I hope that's just the beginning. And I, as I've said for years, and as a matter of fact, you have too, if I'm not mistaken, we have both said, why is it that any retired Intel individual, no matter where you came from, why do you still keep a security clearance? I was derezzed. I had my ass derezzed when I left, and rightly so. Milley, Austin, all those other assholes should not have security clearances anymore. But the rejoinder was customarily, and especially from defense industries, was, well, we need them to have inside information with regard to how it is that we should engage in procurements and design and all of it. Ask the government. Don't. All you do is you're embiggening the wallets of all these other people that have retired. And the first thing you do to rein in intelligence agency, CIA, NSA, DIA, etc., is rip their security clearances away.
Well, and I've argued in the past, or not argued, but I've said in the past, I understand if you have a select handful of people who, for the sake of continuity of government, should the worst happen, are still in the inner loop. However, they should not be able to work for anybody. They should not be able to share any of that information with any private businesses. And they should not be able to be on the news talking about it. Their job is literally almost like the lone survivor, where if all hell breaks loose, they're one of the people who are around who at least have a running, working knowledge as to what's going on. But they're not signing on to a BS document that we all knew was a lie under the guise of, well, you can trust me because I still have my security clearance. You know, I understand the necessity to have an ongoing continuity of government should the worst ever happen, but that alone should be the privilege, not being able to make millions of dollars off of it and torpedo your political foes with that information you claim to have.
Agree to disagree, but I do agree with the thing about 10 years. All generals, all people who leave government, you should not be able to profit from your inside trading like Nancy Pelosi, or your inside information, or your defense information, or become a lobbyist, or become you get on the board of here's a perfect example. Milley, trader, once he retired. He's on the board of JP Morgan.
Was it JP Morgan? Yeah, okay.
JP Morgan. And he's there as a consultant. Well,
Right.
What is JP Morgan in league with? JP Morgan is in league with BlackRock. What is BlackRock advocating? They want to go into Ukraine and invest billions, potentially trillions of dollars to bring Ukraine back. Well, why would BlackRock or JP Morgan Stern, why would they be interested in investing in Ukraine, pretty much a loser laundromat, unless there was a shit ton of money to be made? And the reason that they get Milley and other people like him is so that they have access to those security clearances and that information to use it for verification to see, if these other people in government, I wonder if they're telling me the right thing. And I can tell you, I know for a fact, and I know the NSA is listening, when they say that they don't have access to all of these things in their homes, that they have to go into a skiff somewhere.
Yes.
Wrong. They're in their homes. They have access in their homes. They don't go outside their little ensconced room, their little homes. They're comfy, etc. All that crap has got to stop. Hillary Clinton got away with it. All these other people that retire, they're getting away with it. It's got to stop.
Yeah, it shouldn't be allowed. That like I said, that shouldn't be allowed. And I agree with you. The 10-year rule is fine with me. And when I say a select number of people, understand that I am talking strictly from the basis of continuity of government. Should the worst happen, pick a disaster or pick an attack or pick a whatever, having one or two people around who can step into that role fresh, that weren't targeted or whatever, I think would be helpful. But that being said, there has to be a buku amount of restrictions on what they can do.
Yeah, but I'm sorry, I don't think it's that hard if something major happens to fill their spots anymore, because there's other people that could step up and get the clearances and do that position.
Yeah, if the government still exists.
If the government's not existing, we got larger issues to deal with.
The CIA and the NSA won't even be in existence. You can guarantee that Fort Meade will be up in a mushroom cloud, as will Colorado and Utah.
My biggest issue with that, as you said, is at some point, though, there has to be somebody who has knowledge of our current stances, if you will, and our current equipment, and can start to share that information with people who are now stepping into power.
Since I did,
it's a rabbit hole.
The security clearances, right?
Right. And
so
it's a rabbit hole.
You really care about a piece of paper saying that he's got a security clearance?
No. But what I do care about is that he actually knows what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
This is the equipment we still have. This is our continuity of government, yada yada. And I'm not saying more than a handful of people, and I'm not saying that they sign on to it and it's a boatload of restrictions on them of what they can get. And like BZ said, hey, maybe they go in every 2 months for an update. They can't take anything outside the Pentagon or whatever. But other than that, I think when you walk out the door, other than a select handful of people, it should all be stripped. You should have zero access. There's no reason for you to have access. None whatsoever. You know, all these people who walk out that have all this access is mind-boggling to me. When we're looking for leaks in government and you have people like BZ said who are at home accessing all this stuff on their personal computer.
Peter Stroke.
Yeah. I mean, and that's just one, right? That's the one who got caught. So, and we know Hillary, right? BleachBit, her own server, yada, yada, yada. And she was the active Secretary of State and she got caught. So
nothing to see here.
That's what I mean. Like, and I agree with you. Milley, another prime example as to what's going on. But you look at, what's the format of the CIA that's always on MSNBC or,
Brennan?
Yeah, Brennan.
The guy that lied to Congress nakedly, baldly, and suffered no consequences. That one?
So, yes. So you brought up executive orders, and I'm glad you did because that segues nicely into my next little clip. Everybody's reporting that tomorrow the president is set to sign over 200 executive orders, including but not limited to declaring an emergency at the border, reinstating Remain in Mexico, and doing away with the catch and release programs and actually holding people, directing the military to continue the new phase of the border wall, ending DEI hiring practices in federal government, withdrawing from the Paris climate controls, and establishing a hiring freeze until everything is situated with Doge. And also an interesting one, and this is going to be dealer's choice when I start handing it around, is declaring certain cartels terrorist organizations in Mexico. And that's just a few of the many executive orders that'll be signed tomorrow. I'm going to go around the room roulette, and Earl, you go first. Your thoughts on the executive orders? Any of them stand out to you? Any of the ones you want to see him get ahead of?
Well, one of my favorites is declaring the cartels on the border as terrorist organizations. And I think that should have been done a long time ago. I think if we had a real leader in the White House, it would have been done, because what they have done is nothing short of terrorist attacks on this country, between the human trafficking, between the narcotics trafficking, fentanyl, all of it is an attack on this country. And then just all the illegal aliens coming across the border. I mean, that's an invasion. So
that the cartels are directly responsible for.
Exactly. And they're basically paramilitary organizations at this point. And so I think that declaring them a terrorist organization and authorizing our military to be able to take action against them, I think is fantastic.
Well, and they're not.
To me, that's one of the best executive orders among a lot of really good ones, mind you. But for me, that's one of the best ones.
Well, and they're not like a paramilitary organization. They are a paramilitary organization.
Yeah.
And what a lot of people forget is our special forces trained a lot of them years ago during the war on drugs, because at that time they were all part of the Mexican military. And Earl, what are you drinking?
Uncle Nearest Rye.
Ooh. Okay. And how do we like it?
Yeah. Actually, no, not tonight. Tonight is Templeton Rye 6 year.
Oh, I like Templeton Rye. Always a good one. That's the green label. Just if in case anyone.
Yeah, that's the green one. The 6 year is the green one, and it's smooth.
Bang for the buck. It one of the best bang for the bucks out there. But yeah, so the cartel is a paramilitary organization, and look, they control more of Mexico than the Mexican government does. There is this unbelievable belief that the Mexican government is a real thing, and it's not. The cartels can walk into town, and don't get me wrong, you have seen there are certain members of the Mexican government who are trying to do the right thing, and you know that because they end up dead. That's usually the sign of one of the people that were trying to do the right thing. We've heard so many stories of mayors, police officers, police chiefs, military members, government members, and Earl's having connection issues, just so everyone knows. So he's trying to rectify that, who have ended up dead because they dared to push back against the cartels. So if I was Mexico and I could get away from my bravado and if I could say, hey, we do need some help with these guys, this would have been over a long time ago. But one of the problems that we see on the regular is the Mexican cartel, the Mexican government has a tendency to pound their chest and act like they have everything under control. I just watched a video, I think it was in the last 2 weeks, and it's in what's the big spring break beach there in Mexico on
Cancun?
Yes. It was a video in
Acapulco?
Cancun. No, it was Cancun.
Okay.
Acapulco was in the 70s, BZ. That's where the Love Boat went to.
Comma, asshole.
where gunmen stormed a beach and killed a couple people on the beach in the middle of the day, which was not one of the things that the cartels knew not to do, was to go into the vacation areas and act up, because that would draw the attention of everybody, and they were trying to avoid that. And now they're so brazen, they have doing that. So I think that that's a huge executive order. Joe, what any of these XOs?
Did you bring up January 6th? Was that on the XOs?
It is going to be. I have not brought it up yet.
Okay, I'll wait until we bring it up.
No, you can bring it up right now. I mean,
I found a tweet where someone was saying that he's one of the J6 prisoners, but he said that the DC jail prison guards are doing late night shakedowns unlike he's ever seen before in the 4 years. It's more like they're cleaning up, preparing for U.S. Marshal officials to be visiting jail tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. So
that's very interesting.
Trump alluded during his speech today,
and I do have one of them.
Something big is happening with the January 6th, which we're all guessing is going to be
pardons.
Whatchamacallits? Huh?
Pardons.
Yeah, pardons. Thank you. I couldn't think of the word. So I suspect there's going to be a lot of pant pissing in a lot of these jails and amongst certain members. And look, we've already been told that there is a lot of resignations going around in key departments of the government as we speak. That's been all over social media, and that's being reported left and right. All good things. Look, if Trump just showing up to work tomorrow gets Doge way ahead of the game by getting rid of a lot of the dead weight.
I did not understand that. All these idiots going, we're going to resign if so-and-so takes to the department. Great. Thank you. You're saving us money.
Yeah, and on top of it all, you're admitting that you're resigning for a reason.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you right now, and I've said this before, If you are the FBI agent who Trump coming into office doesn't really change your life other than the fact that you don't have to go to like DEI meetings anymore and you're just still able to do your job like a normal human being, cool. If you are worried about what will be uncovered that you did during the Biden tenure and your time at the FBI or the CIA, whatever, you're a problem. And you're an anti-American problem because that means you're working against the American people and our laws. Plain and simple.
Now, the other thing that I was with the was I only have a problem with the catch and release one.
Stopping catch and release?
Yeah.
Why?
You see, when I go fishing, I don't keep my fish.
Oh,
I
Jesus.
like to catch and release.
All right.
It's illegal to do that. I mean,
I think you'll be okay. I think you'll be fine.
That tells you how much of that list I actually have a problem with.
He's actually going to go after the violent fisherman first, Joe. So
Yes.
as long as you're not violent, he won't get to you right away. I think you'll be all right.
It's the fake outrage that I've seen the last really couple days. It's sickening. It really is. The fake comments.
The pant pissing.
Pants pissing. It's the fake outrage. I mean, you got Harry Sisson today. I mean, that kid.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, my God. Is he throwing a hissy fit? Number one, he got community noted because he said that Trump had nothing to do with TikTok staying, not being banned.
Well,
now TikTok put out a notice saying, "Thank you, Trump." And, gave full credit to Trump. Then he turns around and says, Biden didn't know what he was signing when he signed the executive or the order to
law. Yeah, we'll get to that because I want to cover that soon. But I actually have a thread regarding all the people resigning, and this is from John Hudson. If you don't know who John Hudson is, there it is. He covers diplomacy and national security for the Washington Post. Here's his thread, and I'm going to read it. And if any of you want to chime in, just do. This was at 4:48 p.m. Pacific time today. Scores of senior career diplomats are resigning from the State Department effective at noon Monday after receiving instructions to do so from Trump aides. The forced departures, the prerogative of the incoming administration, indicate a desire to quickly break from the Biden era. Those told to tender resignations include decorated veterans of the Foreign Service, including Undersecretary John Bass and Assistant Secretary Jeff Piott. Some incoming presidents choose to keep a larger stable of career diplomats until political appointees get affirmed. Instead, Trump has authorized the selection of more than 20 senior bureau officials to take over various divisions where leadership posts are being vacated as of this week. A number of those officials served in key roles in the State Department and the National Security Council during Trump's first term, and some have been pulled out of retirement. Interesting. One senior diplomat who was asked to resign said the Trump admin wants people who are known quantities to them, such as Lisa Kenna. I'm glad that he's not being shy about this whatsoever.
Absolutely.
And I'm glad he's
this
not.
This was one of his biggest mistakes last time.
Yes.
Too conciliatory.
One of his biggest mistakes last time was not filling these positions with people he trusted, and listening to the swamp rats and taking their advice as opposed to other people that he trusted that were known quantities to him. You know what I mean?
Well,
I think he's off
that.
to a great start right now.
He has said that in the past. Essentially, you don't know what you don't know is what got him. He was trusting people he was told he could trust. He was trusting, and as much as he knows politicians in Washington, we all know it's a different game when you get inside that inner circle, that inner sanctum of Washington, D.C. And it's worse than probably any of us can ever pontificate about. BZ, I know you have a lot to say, sir.
Oh, God. Traditionally, I know you guys know it, but maybe some of the other people who are watching and listening don't know. It is tradition, it is customary for all the AUSAs in each district to submit their letter of resignation upon
for the listeners. What's a USA?
I'm sorry, United States Attorney. There are AUSAs, assistant U.S. attorneys, and the U.S. attorney in every district. There are districts all throughout the Boneyard land here. If you watch TV, you hear people talking about AUSAs, USAs. The tradition is they submit their letter of resignation upon the election of a new president. And to Trump, accept them. Every last damn one of them. Every one of them out.
Absolutely.
There might be a few, but you'd have to look long, hard, and deep to find them. The other thing, do you guys remember this chick named
and I'm
Lisa
sure
Monaco?
the few that are worth it, he already knows who they are.
Oh, here's my basic concept. This is where I come from. Trump is this is it for him. He's not going to be elected again. He cannot be elected again, and because of that, he needs to grab the bull that's just outside the stock market, the stock market, and take that metal thing and crash everyone and anything. You were talking about the cartels earlier. This is my philosophy after. Nice.
I'm listening.
Oh,
Nice.
I'm watching. Anyway, this is Trump needs to go all out. I want to see veins between people's teeth. Anybody that votes against the cartels, ooh, very nice. Scheinbaum in Mexico is compromised. All the family leaders in Mexico are compromised. They're all dancing to the cartels. In DC, if you vote against securing the border, you're on the pad. You're being paid. If you're voting against pedophile bills, you're on the pad, you're being paid, or you're a pedo yourself. One of the two. There are no excuses. The day for excuses are done. I'm taking a very blunt instrument view of the next 4 years. You guys remember Lisa Monaco? She was the assistant. She came back. She's hugging Garland all over the place as he's leaving. Did you guys happen to see him walking down the long?
Oh, the clapping and all the bullshit.
Yeah. Merrick Garland, the savior of DOJ. Yeah, bullshit.
BZ, let me jump in real quick.
Yeah, I got you.
Didn't Hitler's personnel cheer for him and clap for him? Now, I'm not comparing Merrick Garland to Hitler, but just because a few people clap for you does not make you a good person.
No, of course not.
Right.
Of course,
look at that! How great of a person he is! Everybody's clapping for him.
In Hitler's regime, if you didn't do that, it could also get you shot. Now, Lisa Monaco, let's remember, she's a longtime Obama foot soldier. And my guess is what she's doing right now is she's putting all the finishing touches, dotting the I's, crossing the T's on all the political pardons that Joe Biden will have no idea that he's signing. Now, why they haven't been released yet? Are they waiting to the very, very, very tippy top last second on that?
Yes.
I maybe so. We could potentially. Now the inauguration is 9 a.m. Pacific. It's noon Eastern. So I guess he has up to noon Eastern, or perhaps a little bit before that, to really drop his last turd in the Trump punch bowl.
I wonder if he's holding off on him.
He is. He's holding off on him, so
he's not going to release him after that Michael Johnson video came out.
Yeah, it's going to get buried under the inauguration coverage. That is by design. That is not by mistake. That is not happenstance. I guarantee there's going to be at least 2 more huge, not just pardons, but in an executive order, some other thing that he will do as he's walking out the door. Much like he tried to do with the whole 1952 can't explore the Gulf of Mexico for oil thing, which is why he wanted to change it to the Gulf of America, because then that law would no longer apply. They would have to modify the law to change to say Gulf of America. The fact that the leftists did not pick up on that, being trolled about that, is the funniest thing in the world to me. The funniest thing in the world to me, because I knew that right away, because the Biden thing about not drilling and trying to enforce that order came out like 2 days before. And then he's suddenly like, oh, yeah, we're going to change the Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America. And the Mexican president who went nuts and was like, oh, we could just call this all Northern Americana or something. Like she had like this whole giant map on the wall with the rename of Northern America. And I was laughing because I'm like, you just got trolled and you didn't even, you're the president of a country and nobody in your administration could pick up on the fact that you just got trolled. And he's really trolling Biden.
Talk about triggering.
She's the official face for all the cartels in Mexico.
But with the EOs you're talking about, I don't know if there's going to be that many really coming out, whether it's publicized or not, because of that interview with Mike Johnson that just came out. I don't know if you saw it where Biden's admitting that that's not the EO he signed. When it was talking about
that's not going to stop them. It's not going to stop them because then they'll let that fight happen in court later. They would rather take their chance. Just take your chance in court later and see what happens. So moving along, I want to bring up this video. Does anyone else have an executive order first day that they really want to see happen?
Well, I before you change to EOS, I want to say this. Trump has already said that he wants to, and I had Suzanne Monk, who is a big J6 Pardon Project person on last Thursday. That was
great interview,
a sight to see. She was like the easiest interview in the world, man. She just boom took off. So there are going to be pardons of J6 individuals tomorrow. The interesting point about that is that judges are sentencing, this is from CNN, judges sentence January 6th Capitol rioters, fully aware Trump pardon could spare them. So Judge Tanya Chutkan has said, who presided over the president-elect's now dismissed criminal case, told a defendant who admitted to disorderly conduct that day he may be the last U.S. Capitol rioter she'll sentence, but she's not going to not sentence him. She's going to make sure that she does, in fact, sentence him prior to tomorrow. Again, hello, turd meet Trump punch bowl.
Oh, yeah. Well, and we saw this was going to happen. I mean, it wasn't, it's not surprising with the vitriol that the left has and knowing how much of their little utopia land that they were trying to set up that is not utopic at all was going to be undone, and it was going to be undone at high speeds. Look, I'm still convinced they never thought they were going to lose this election. I think that they were. Oh yeah, I think they're 100% confirmed that they were going to walk away and take the election. And I think when they didn't, and look, we all know about the Democrats and the 100-year plan, right? So they thought they were going to take this election, and then they were going to be able to make moves to secure the following elections, yada yada yada. That was their plan.
1,000-year Reich?
Yes. Unable to do so, they're now in panic mode. And you're seeing it all over the place. They're trying to cover whatever ass they can. And they're going to look. Why do you think the January 6ers, some of them haven't even gotten to trial yet?
We talked about that on Thursday. Now,
right.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is beyond human ken. This is beyond human ken. That this is the United States of America. This is what the Stasi used to do. This is what East Germany used to do. This is what Russia and China did and do.
Still do.
These people were engaged on January 6th, 4 years ago. Some of them do not have a court date yet in 4 years. How does that happen in the United States of America? And the answer is Thug's Law and intentionally. Now, I always do the BZ inverse proposal, which is if we conservatives, Republicans, under a Republican regime had done something like that, there literally would have been riots in the streets.
Yes.
And there is no such thing now. So it just blows me away that we have no consideration whatsoever for process. Consideration for process is gone. And I can tell you exactly why this occurred. I never got to tell Suzanne Monk about this. That's because January 6th rioters scared DC minions shitless. Now,
that's fair. Yeah,
Whether you agree with J6, whether you disagree with J6, they went way over the top because they finally recognized we can be gotten. Now that should be true of every person in DC. They should
Always.
know this.
Always.
Look at Trump. Look at June. Turned his head. Missed being a live TV assassination. Wow, cool, leftists would have said, by just the turn of a head.
They would have feigned caring for about 48 hours and the day of the funeral. That's all.
Maybe, if that. But this made them realize, dude, mortality, we can be got. Now, should it have happened peacefully, etc.? There are all sorts of, why did the cops open the gates? Why did the cops move the barriers? Why did the cops open the doors? Why did the cops not stop anybody?
Why did they open fire?
What about the book written by the USCP, Capitol Police Chief, who said basically Pelosi could have shut it all down? She decided not to. The political perspective would not have been so well. All of that could have been stopped, assuaged, mitigated, decided actively not to.
What kind of lawsuits can come from these J6 prisoners?
Here's the other aspect, and I'm really glad you brought that up, Jersey Joe, because this is what happens in Coptum. In Coptum, if you're discovered, if a cop does X, Y, or Z, and then you're charged either civilly or criminally, then they're going to go back into that particular cop's background and they'll get rid of all of his cases. And then the gloves are off, let the lawsuits commence. If J6ers are pardoned, essentially what that says is somebody somewhere thinks that these are mitigations that they should have enjoyed literally years ago. I can only hope, with my greatest amount of fetid fervor, that the lawsuits start, and this current DOJ, the incoming DOJ, is going to have to deal with them. I'm sorry. That's part and parcel of being a big boy or a big girl and pulling up your panties and getting into the mix. But I hope they sue the living shit out of those people who are responsible for doing this. And if you have to go back to the previous administration, I'm all over that.
Well, and they could do what they did for the Strzok lawsuit, which is pay them out without ever seeing a courtroom.
Well, because in Strzok's case, you didn't want the information that he has.
Discovery's a bitch
to get out. Yep.
And with the January 6th, all the information's out there for the most part, except for the information that the January 6th committee destroyed.
Never to be retrieved again.
So speaking of January 6th, I just want to mention this real quick. And maybe you guys touched on it while I was having some technical issues, but
you should
people
really
always talk about how easy. People always talk about how there was one fatality that day, and she was killed by a Capitol police officer. Very true. But somebody else died that day.
Roseanne Bergman.
A woman by the name of Roseanne Boyle.
Yep.
She was also killed by a DC police officer. And the fact that that gets lost, even in conservative media, is kind of troubling to me. And I bring it up every chance I get because I actually forgot. I heard about it when it first happened, and then I forgot about it because it wasn't.
It was never talked about.
The public discourse, yeah, and so
it was never talked about.
Once I was reminded of it, I bring it up every chance I get, every time January 6th comes up, because that was another tragedy that could have been completely avoided.
I believe she perished at the hands of "quote unquote" less than lethal.
Yeah,
she took a rubber bullet,
which is probably another reason why it doesn't get talked about much.
But
Michael Bird.
Well, and you look at the contrast, if you will, from what happened with Ashley Babbitt, where she was shot essentially in the throat from 4 feet away from a guy who had a litany of issues through his tenure and probably should not have been a police officer anymore. And they protected him. They protect nothing. I think he got an award.
He did.
He was the,
and
He got
promoted.
he was the only person.
He's a captain now.
Yeah. We'll see how long he's a captain for right now. He was the only person to fire his weapon, and he did it 6 feet from the SWAT team, who was on the other side of the door next to Ashley Babbitt observing, and the SWAT team members were the ones who were giving her aid and rendering her aid initially after the shot. And if you watch the video, they were shocked that a round went off. So all of that needs to be sussed out. All of that needs to be dealt with. I suspect that when it comes time for dealing with the January 6thers, it's going to cost taxpayers a lot of money, yes. However, it is deservedly so because of the amount of lawfare that was used during January 6th, which was a trend with this administration that they love to use lawfare to their advantage to silence their opposition. And BZ, you hit the nail on the head. However you feel about the way January 6th went down, the simple fact of the matter is it's said to lawmakers, you still answer to us. You are still accountable one way or the other. And when you're getting to the point of us having to get into your face about it, and look, you forget the same lawmakers who, were pulling the AOC like, oh, I could have been assaulted when she wasn't even there. All those people were the same ones who months earlier were yelling at their constituents, their followers on the news. If you see members of the Trump camp, the Trump administration, get in their face. I don't care if they're in public. I don't care if they're in their family.
Oh, yeah.
Maxine
Get
Waters.
in their face and
Crazy
scream and
Auntie
blah, blah, blah.
Max.
Yep. And it wasn't just her. She just got the most. She just got the most recognition for it because it's her.
Well, Sarah Huckabee was confronted in that restaurant because she was the spokesman.
Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz
and
was
Ted Cruz
confronted.
And all the people that attacked Kavanaugh's that were out protesting in front of Kavanaugh, when in fact that's against the law.
Yep. And so I agree. I think that and obviously we could relitigate the entire January 6th, but that's not what we're here to do tonight.
We're here to laugh.
We're here to move forward. We're here to, like, the future's amongst us. We actually have a chance. And I talked earlier about the tone coming into the office as to the tone that's there. And look, everything from Biden and the left for the last 4 years has been doom or gloom, unless they did something they wanted to parade around. Everything is, we're going to die. It's all going to hell. Things are just getting worse. Blah, 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 blah. Our economy's great, even though it's not. Like, the things that they would lie about, everybody knew was a lie. It was just the entire mode of the country was affected by how they talked to the American people. And it was all doom and gloom. And I think there's a vast contrast between that and this. Hold on a second. And remember, the Biden administration's MO was it's us versus them, right up until it saw that it was costing them the election. It's us versus them. They just want to ruin this country. They want to ruin this. They want to ruin that. And this is what you get today out of President Trump.
Past 9 years, you and I fought side by side against the most sinister and corrupt forces on earth. And in our magnificent victory on November 5th, you showed them once and for all that this nation does not belong to them. This nation belongs to you. For the past.
You ever notice the biggest difference between Trump and Obama was me, I. With Trump, it's you, and you. It's not me, it's you.
And that's what I was just going to, yes, 100% yes. That came down to, this was you. This is your country. Essentially, the idea, as crazy as it is, that government works for the people. And think about how that reaches people who have been essentially shit on all through the Obama administration. You had a small break and then shit on again all through the Biden administration. And now you have a president who once again says, hey, you won the fight. This is your country. We're going to have a brighter future because of you.
They're working against me, but they're actually against you.
Yeah, well, they tried to shoot him, right? I mean, it doesn't matter. And that's the other investigation I want to have released, but that's time for a different
that will come. Hey, did you guys see this particular loving fact here? Speaker Johnson said that he talked to Biden, and Biden insisted that that executive order that you're talking about is
Joe was talking about this. Yeah, Joe was talking about this earlier. It's
the gas going to Europe.
Yeah.
Yes. And now they have to buy it from Russia. I didn't sign that. I signed a study.
He insisted that he never issued the order to freeze national gas or natural gas and export permits. Why?
He said that he signed an EO to do a study. How many other EOs did he sign?
Exactly.
But it brings us back to the 50, the what was it, the Times that did the report of the 50 White House staffers that are interviewed that essentially said he's been a hot mess since the day he walked in office.
He's gone. He was gone before.
He doesn't know what he was signing. And that is still one of the biggest controversies, the biggest scandals in Washington that is not talked about.
That is the biggest political scandal in the history of the United States.
Yes.
That an individual was supported and elected as president who was addled from the very first day. And if you noticed, you were told you're nuts, not him.
Yep. How dare you?
It all fell apart. It all fell apart on the debate.
After all these lies. They still want us to believe them. Schumer just came out and said, you're too stupid to understand what we as Democrats did for you the last 4 years. You're just not smart enough. The audacity of these idiots.
Oh yeah, Trump is inheriting a robust, a great economy right now. That's what that's one of the lies they're trying.
Well, they're trying to change that. I love that.
They think we're stupid enough to believe it.
Yeah, I love that. That's just my favorite part is right now they remind me of Baghdad Bob. You remember the Iraqi foreign minister of propaganda, essentially, when he was on TV talking about how, the Americans are killing themselves at the gate of Baghdad. Their tanks will never be able to make it through here. Our men are fighting strong. And there's like 4 Humvees driving behind him with like just regular like Marines just hanging out, like looking around, not even impressed with the place. That's what they're doing right now.
Peaceful riots. We only have peaceful riots.
They're trying to recreate a reality that doesn't exist. Look, Biden was a Manchurian candidate. Plain and simple. He was a Manchurian candidate. The enemy who is in charge of him are all of the people who are running the country for him. It's scary to think that, but it's true. A Manchurian candidate doesn't have to be run by some foreign power. It's just an enemy of the country. Well, when
not a danger to democracy.
Yeah. When you elect somebody that you have no intention of running the country, and you're going to pull his strings like a puppet and push him around because he's mentally dilapidated, you're an enemy of the people. And I'll tell you right now, it'll never happen. And I know why it'll never happen. It sucks it never happens. The fact that there's not an investigation into Jill Biden, I think is one of the biggest, not just for the senior abuse, but she was a part of this.
No, she was a power monger.
Yes.
She enjoyed what she enjoyed as VP, being treated in a manically deferential fashion, decided that, of course, when Bernie Sanders was no longer viable, because, Bernie was going to kill the cow, the spice was going to stop under Bernie Sanders. And once that possibility of Joe, Jill pushed him rapidly into Front Street because she wanted even more deference, bigger deference.
I think it's more evil than that, BZ. I think she wanted the power. I think she's a power-hungry lunatic.
Oh,
I think she was.
Doubt.
I think she was one of the major power players in the last couple of years. Maybe not so much in the beginning, but in the last couple of years when it was even more obvious that Biden didn't have any mental capacity left. And we heard the stories of her running these cabinet meetings and stuff like that. I think she was one of the major power players. She inserted herself into the power structure, and she was calling a lot of the shots.
That's a good point.
And I think the only people probably who could override her were the Obamas and maybe Pelosi, but I don't know.
Oh no, Pelosi did, because I guarantee you Pelosi could, because that's how she came.
That's true. That's true.
So I actually
said that her and Pelosi were friends for 50 years.
I actually have a picture.
Yeah, there was a story that came out where she didn't call out Pelosi by name, but she basically said this person had been friends with her for decades, and she was dismayed basically that it came down to it, and everybody knew she was talking about Pelosi.
Well, and I do have a picture of Jill and Joe, and this was from 2 years ago. And that's Jill on the left.
right. Joe on
the right.
Well, that's before they got him with the Clippers.
Right.
Did you see his tweet from today? I'm not going anywhere.
Oh God, yeah, I'm not going anywhere. It wasn't a tweet. He said that at the church, and I think he was in North Carolina.
Yeah.
He said at the church, I'm not going anywhere. And I was like, the problem is he thinks he lives in the church. He was being literal. He actually thinks he lives there.
He didn't know that he lost the election, and he thought he was going back, he
didn't even know he ran an election. He didn't even ran an election.
They haven't had the election yet. I haven't gone out and campaigned yet.
The saddest thing, though, all of this
for another 2 years, guys. Come on, man.
When that crap comes up, we believe it. We've been beaten senseless.
Yes.
We've been dragged kicking and screaming into the conspiracy theory area because all of this crap has turned out to be true. I'd believe almost damn anything.
Well, and that's
almost, because we've seen it, and now it's being revealed. It's being revealed. Trump was right. From the very first time, he said, I've been surveilled.
No, he hasn't. He's conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
Trump wasn't surveilled. He's a liar. He doesn't know what he's talking about. It wasn't
Tell me something
surveillance.
that Trump said that they said was a conspiracy theory or a lie that has been proven.
Oh no,
ivermectin.
Yeah.
Jeez.
It just went on and on.
There's pretty much no such thing as a conspiracy theory anymore. It's just delayed.
And I was
facts.
right theory.
Well, as soon as the Democrats start using the word conspiracy theory, I go, this is true.
Yeah.
So
without a doubt, at this point.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I was going to say at this point, that's got to be the default position. If they say it's a conspiracy theory, you can bet that it's true.
We can go back to Clinton when Monica Lewinsky was saying, or not Monica, Hillary Clinton was saying the Monica Lewinsky story was a right-wing conspiracy theory.
Right.
No, it was a West Wing blowjob theory, but that's neither here nor there.
Oh, the WWBT, right?
Yeah,
he was flavoring his cigar.
I'm gonna play a clip, and I want you guys to, and we'll go around the room. We'll start with Joe.
Did you just say what I thought you did, Jesse Joe? I think you did.
I'm going to play this clip, but I want you to tell me just one. I'm going to make you think a little bit. One difference between this president and Biden.
Take the oath of office. Oh, you're going to have a lot of fun watching television tomorrow. Somebody said yesterday, sir, don't sign so many in one day. Let's do it over a period of weeks. I said, like hell, we're going to do it over weeks. We're going to sign them at the You know that old story. Let's do it later, then it never gets done. No, we're doing them tomorrow. And we'll have plenty to sign in the future. Don't worry about it. It's not going to stop. But we're going to stop the destructive and divisive diversity. Take the.
So he went on and talking about diversity, DEI, that it'll stop. But the other thing that he brought up, and I thought the clip would have it, and it got cut short, was he was talking about winning as a country. The country's going to be doing so much winning that people are going to get tired of it. So with that, Joe, the difference between him and Biden, one difference, go.
I believe Trump.
Okay.
I mean, we heard Biden talking how I'm going to be the president that brings us back together. I'm not going to be a divisive president. Those damn right-wing extremists. Trump saying we're going to win as a country. I trust Trump. I don't trust that old man.
Very good. Earl.
Trump loves this country, and Biden sold it out.
Yeah.
Trump loves this country, and Biden hates America and Americans.
BZ.
Where do you start for something like that? As I said, he's not technically this, but in essence, he is. He's a lame duck president. What does he have to lose by doing anything and everything?
Mm-hmm.
And the answer is he's got nothing to lose. He's not pumping up money because I need to come back. I need to be 48. That's not going to happen. This is for all the duckies right here. And I've said this to so many people. Even the Republicans don't get this concept. I know you guys do, but I'm going to say it because there are others listening. A lot of people don't understand how it is that Trump works. He's the consummate negotiator. I don't go by what he says so much as by what he does. He'll start off like way fucking nuts on an issue sometime, like Greenland. Don't listen to that. He's starting off steely on an issue. Then he starts talking. Then he starts throwing out numbers. Then he may make threats. And then he's making bank shots on the pool table multiple times. He'll feint over here, or he'll feint over here, make a move over here, pitching suggestions, but mostly he gets what he wants. He's a negotiator.
Mm-hmm.
It's what he is. And at this point, that the Democrats don't get that, he can't say those things. Here's the deal. The Arctic is way fucking valuable. The Chinese envy it. The Russians are in it. The Russians have 40 plus icebreakers in their fleets. We have 2. The Russians are serious as shit about the Arctic. The Arctic is packed with resources. Greenland knows this. What's Trump angling for? Well, he wouldn't be angling for a base or a bigger base or a greater amount of influence and greater protectorates for Greenland. He doesn't mean that he's going to send tanks rolling in there like all the leftists are saying. This is a work in progress.
Like we would need to.
Yeah.
But I also saw from Greenland where it went from, oh, how dare he, to all of a sudden you're seeing officials from Greenland going, maybe we should sit down and talk to him, see what he has to say. The citizens are going,
they're Italians.
It wouldn't be bad to become an American.
Well, because the other thing is they realize the active threat that's on their border. They know that the Russians are a threat. They know that the Chinese are a threat. They know that they're coming, and who's going to protect them from the Chinese and the Russians? Unless
Denmark.
they just got to simply sell their asses out. Right, Denmark.
This is not the first time that the United States has put a position out to buy Greenland. We've done it multiple times.
Yeah.
Well, and now, like you, Joe, you pointed out that I think he's called the premier. He's like the governor of Greenland, but because they're still owned by the Denmark government or the Danish government, has said
they make great pastries.
we kind of want to have a conversation. Like, this isn't a terrible idea. And you had a lot of people in Greenland, not that there's a lot of people in Greenland, but you had a
57,000.
percentage. Yeah, you had a percentage of people in Greenland are like, we would love to be Americans. Like, that would be amazing.
We would have to change the name. I'm sorry, because Greenland is not green and Iceland is not ice. They're actually reversed.
I remember that from elementary school, my dear.
Yeah.
We'd have to rename it something, maybe Trump land.
Joe, I'm glad you're here to focus on the important things.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I agree.
If I didn't do it, who would?
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. If you didn't bring that up tonight, who would have brought it up in this conversation?
Hey,
literally nobody.
I want to make this very important point too. Denmark,
Got a coffee cup.
you guys are not the origin of this. Kettle One is made in Schiedam, Netherlands, okay? At the Nole Distillery from 1691. You guys in Denmark are not impressing the shit out of me. You don't even
I
make
love
good
that that's the 9th time that he's shown the cup. That's my favorite part so far, 10. Okay, there we go. So what are you drinking, Joe?
Actually, it's just ginger ale, but I got an igloo cup that's Slayer.
Oh, nice.
Okay,
I
good.
mean, you're being a coward for the ginger ale, but whatever.
Well, my stomach's not doing too good.
Yeah,
That's why I haven't been on, man. My stomach's just been between that. My wife's engine went boomy.
Oh,
the main toilet in my house has been broke for over a week now.
You could have put that rum in that cup. How was that? One of the things that I wanted to note about that statement, as well as other statements, he talks about how America is actually going to progress, and he's talking about a positive future, and how if we do these things as a nation, we can have a positive future. People will prosper. People will be better off. Our country will be better off. We will be stronger. We will be more united. He is harnessing something that and he's done this before. It's not just this speech. He's done this a bunch of times. And I think it's one of the things that works for him is he harnesses the idea that America is a great country. And we have our faults, we have our issues, but by and large, we're a good country. And by and large, the people here are good people. Whereas on the other side, for years since Obama, we were told that half this country is garbage. And why do I keep going back to that? Is because people in general, I think, very much react to what their leaders are saying. And when you have a leader who will stand up there and tell the average Joe sitting in their house and the average person who's going to work, all that work you're doing is going to mean something soon. We're going to do our part so you can do your part. You're going to be able to feed your family. And you can be proud of yourself for doing all of that hard work. You're not just a piece of garbage because you didn't vote for me, or because you are religious, you're just this evil, monstrous person, and blah, 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 blah. He has this message of hope. And it's not like the hope and change that Obama had, where it's like, we're not going to tell you what the change is going to be, but we're just hoping to change. His hope is actual generic, like real hope, where it's like our country can go back to the point where we can be proud, where the average citizen is going to be successful, where we're going to work hard together. We're going to protect our people. We're going to put ourselves in a situation to win, and we're going to make our children's future better. And I think that resonates so much in the current world. And I think that's one of the reasons why people really adore him how they do, is they actually get to feel good about themselves because he tells them it's okay to feel good about yourself. And that goes a long way. Joe.
Remember when Spock said only Nixon can go to China? Remember when people said it took a Carter to get a Reagan, and it took a Biden to get OMB back in the House again?
It actually took an Obama and then a Biden Joe, go ahead. I'll play it. And you're muted. Okay.
Well, it's a nice picture. And
It is a lovely picture.
And I like that he was there. I'm sorry, this shit tears me up.
That's what I was just thinking.
You can't go, if you're an American, to Pearl Harbor and not tear up. And you cannot go to the tomb and not do that too.
I was eating. Oh, surprise. He was supposed to lay that wreath, but yet he passed it off to a wounded soldier for them to do it.
And that soldier was wounded at Abbey Gate during the Afghanistan withdrawal.
But he could have taken that opportunity to get all the press of him doing it, and he steps aside.
Yeah.
That shows the true character of a person.
I agree. I agree.
He hates our military.
Yeah, I know, right?
When you look at all the things that he's done, and like BZ said, take what he says out of the equation completely. When you look at all of the things that he's done for our military, for people who've been displaced by natural disasters and all that stuff. When you look at all of those things he's done, when somebody says to me, or when I hear somebody say he's a racist, he's a white supremacist, he's this, he's that, when I immediately tune them out, because they have no idea what they're talking about, or they have an agenda and the truth means absolutely nothing to them. And in either case, I don't want to have anything to do with that conversation anymore, because it's ridiculous.
Where do they always go for he's a racist? Because back in the 70s, him and his father, I think it was the 70s, they weren't renting some apartments to black families. And I'm not okaying it, but that wasn't out of the ordinary at that time.
Well, and you look at,
and not only that, but I don't think that I think that they're only telling half the story. I can't remember exactly what all the details were, but I don't think that that's the entire story.
But you know what? They took their lumps and they corrected it, but that doesn't make him a racist.
Well, and the other thing too is, like you said, it was he and his father, who obviously came from a very different time, and he wasn't in charge at the time of the organization. His father was. But you look at all of the things that he has done since, charity-wise alone, before he became in office. And you look at all the stories of individuals who speak well of him. Judge Joe Brown always tells the story of he's had several friends who, when Trump was doing, with no publicity, minority business loans in New York City, where he was loaning people. The random people would apply, they'd be brought in, tell them, their business plan. He'd give them the loan. They'd go, they'd come back when in the 1 year mark or whenever they were supposed to come back to repay it. And Trump would say, how's your business doing? It's doing well. Is it this? They talk about numbers, whatever. And then he would take the check that they give them and rip it up and say, have a good life.
Yeah.
Take care of your business. And that happened numerous times. The charitable donations. Look,
out in Las Vegas, he broke down and somebody gave him a ride home, so he found out who the guy was and paid his house off.
Yep.
Didn't want no publicity.
The biggest one that I can tell you about is post 9/11. 2 days, I think it was 48 hours after 9/11 happened, he showed up with all of his construction crews that he could muster that could get onto the island with all the equipment, and they just went to work. No contract, no anything. And he was in charge. He was in front of that group as they were walking up the street. And he did that because it needed to be done. They love to paint him as this evil, horrible human being. But you look at all the people that are around him, and look, his vice president, who did not like him for a period of time, has come around. And before everyone says, oh, he's just JD Vance just going for power, blah, blah. JD Vance is not that person. I don't believe that JD Vance is that person. JD Vance was plenty wealthy and doing just fine as a senator. He could have waited and started his own thing after the fact. JD Vance has done what a lot of people have done. They've evolved their stance on him because they've seen him in action. So I forget who brought up when he goes to a natural disaster. We were told that Biden is this empathetic leader, and I forget what the term that they always used. He was the president of blah, 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 feelings and emotions, whatever. And they used to bring that out all the time. But you see Trump at any sort of disaster area, any sort of hardship, and you can see the empathy, and you can see it in the people around him, how they react to him, not necessarily him per se, because he's always very stoic. He's always, especially in those situations, the microphone's not right there, the camera's right there, and you always see him with that very stoic kind of understanding look, and he's shaking the head and he's talking. But then you watch the people that he's talking to and how they are reacting to him, and you can figure out really quickly that how comforting he is being for them in those times. I think one of the biggest horrific lies that mainstream media pulled on the American public is framing Donald Trump as this evil monster that he just is not.
Well, and the thing is, up until 2015, when he came down the escalator and announced that he was running for president as a Republican, up until that very moment, they all loved him.
Because he wrote them checks.
Because as soon as he decided he was going to run as a Republican, all that ended, because
you loved him.
If he's a Republican, then he's automatically an evil racist. Never mind all the women of color that he has in top levels of his organization.
Mm-hmm.
Never mind any of that. That doesn't mean anything. He's still an evil racist Republican. Which
look at what he did for, who is the singer whose family was killed in the early 2000s? Jennifer Hudson, right? No questions asked. I'll give you a place in the tower. I'll give you security 24/7. You stay as long as you need to. That's it. He didn't have to do that. What publicity did he get from that? You didn't hear about that story until years later. You didn't hear about it when it happened.
The man is a billionaire that had more power than a president. And what did he do? He stepped down from his business, lost $1 billion to run a country. Says it all right there.
And didn't take a wage. He's not taking a wage this time either, by the way.
Nope. And folks, you're listening to the SHR Media. This is our inauguration preview and talking about kind of where this country might go in the next 4 years. And some of the things that were said today during this, if you didn't watch the rally today, it was an awesome rally. It was a very positive, upbeat, happy rally. Kid Rock was awesome.
I missed it. Damn it.
His whole set was great. Lee Greenwood.
You'd be saying those words 10, 15 years ago, 20 years
ago. It's like
Kid Rock at a presidency.
It's like the Amish biker thing, right? Yeah. Kid Rock. Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, when Bawa Taba came out, did you really say, I can't wait to see him opening for the president someday? Yeah. No, absolutely not. When he's talking about painting the sheriff's wife white, it just really didn't connect back then. Lee Greenwood was incredible, as he always is. And I tweeted out when it happened, I said, look, every time I hear God Bless the USA, I get chills.
It's a perfect song. It's a great song.
And the fact that he can still sing it with as much strength as he has, he's just got an unbelievably powerful voice, and that was wonderful. All the people who spoke were incredible. His grandchildren doing the Pledge of Allegiance was just beautiful. Even Kai spoke. Like, it was a wonderful, upbeat, positive rally, start to finish. No negativity. I mean, he dumped on.
Did any of the kids mess up the words of the Pledge of Allegiance?
No. They were out of sync, and I think they were 5 and 4 or 6 and 4. They were out of sync for a few times, but it was pretty, it was more adorable than anything else. But he brought Elon.
Well, you
Musk on
remember how Kamala messed up the word, right? Yeah.
Kamala couldn't get it right. Well, she'd been drinking. You got to give her a break.
Yeah, most likely.
No, she wouldn't.
One of the things that happened at the event, and I've brought this up before, and I forget who I had on when I was talking about this. He absolutely, I think, looks at Elon Musk as another son. It is so amazing to watch him beam with pride about Elon, and it's genuine. It's not forced. He's not. He really likes. He was talking about the rocket landing, and he told the story again about how he didn't know what was going on. He was on the phone with this very powerful person, blah blah blah. And just the way he talks about Elon is hysterical. So Elon wasn't even supposed to be on stage today. And of course, Trump being Trump was like, no, where's Elon? You got to get him up here. The guy's amazing. Elon comes up with his son X. It's just, yeah, I know, it's awesome. There's a longer name, but he goes by X. And the kid's about 4 years old, 5 years old. He's tiny. But just watch Elon. And, you don't see people this excited around other politicians. And I think that's noteworthy because authenticity, I think, goes a long way. And I think most celebrities, famous people, whatever, when they're dealing with politicians, they do the smile and wave thing, but they know they're bullshit artists for the most part. Watch Elon today and watch his son and watch Trump interact with his son. I think this clip captures it.
Thank you, Mr. President. Sorry, little X just followed me on the stage here. He's a very enthusiastic supporter, as you can see.
All right, what's he got?
So
I'll tell you in a sec.
We're looking forward to.
So just a cute moment, right?
Yeah.
You asked about what he had in his hands. He actually had one of the Secret Service counter sniper patches, and they told him after the fact that I guess Elon was talking to the Secret Service detail and his son was there, and the agent gave him the patch. But just
super.
Yes. Have you seen any politicians go off script like that where they're like, no, you know what? I'm going to call him up on stage and he's going to talk for a little bit. And and his son chased him up on stage and I'm going to let this kid jump around. Just that sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Genuine, but really just authentic. And I think that's what people are starting to understand more and more this time around, way more than they did last time around for Trump, way more than mainstream media. And we could talk about how social media has changed and, people have access to actual information now, but
courtesy of us.
Yes. 100% courtesy of SHR media. But you look at just that optimism and people went nuts watching this little 4-year-old kid jump around on stage, just happy to be there. Have you ever seen that? Any other politician, especially Biden, right? Where he could go off script like that. Huh?
Never.
No.
Never.
No. And totally off script. One of the things that
politicians do that before. They're like, oh, I wasn't going to do this, but let me invite this person up there. I didn't plan on speaking. Then they're like, all right, thank you.
Yeah,
for
exactly.
Here.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and the other thing too is when he first started talking about Elon, he was like, all right, where is he? I know Elon's in the crowd here somewhere. And then Elon was somewhere in the back. And he's like, come on up. And there was like a couple minute wait where he had to make it through all the, and just stuff like that is what I think people are getting to see now and seeing that authenticity and just seeing, somebody put out earlier that when Trump was watching the Village People perform at the end, and I have that whole clip and I want to play it before we go off air tonight. He looked like a proud father and he was just sitting there beaming at the event, at the Village People performing, but it's people connect to him. And, Joe, we were talking about earlier of everything that the media told you about Trump over the last 12 years about what a horrible person he is and how he's just so terrible, blah, blah. And I think one of the beautiful parts about social media is that bullshit gets tamped down by authenticity being shown. And I'll tell you, 30.5 million people watch this on X alone.
Wow.
30.5 was the final number that I saw.
That's pretty challenging to
First of all, it says a lot for what X can handle. That, yeah, I mean, obviously firing all those people, it worked out really well for Elon.
That's some bandwidth, buddy.
Seriously. But the fact that 30.5 million people want, and this isn't the inauguration. This is a rally. This wasn't anything. I mean, yeah, you got to hear Trump speak, but you'll get to hear Trump speak a billion times. But people still wanted to be involved in this. Indomitable Human, thank you for the comment. I appreciate it out of YouTube.
When you talk about authenticity, though,
it is a great name. Yeah, Joe, I'm sorry.
Watching the campaign, that's one of the things that really was, I hate to keep using the word sickening, but sickening was watching the Democrats trying to look authentic, but everything was staged. I had Kamala and some woman at a bar, and then they're like, "Oh, the cameras are here. I didn't know that."
Gretchen Whitmer, I think it was.
Yes, it was.
And then you had Kamala buying out restaurants and bussing in her actors to
convenience
so
store.
that when she walked in, she didn't get booed because everybody knew that's what was going to happen.
But the convenience store too. Oh, we shop in a convenience store just like everybody else.
Yeah. Except there's nobody in here and everything's paid for, and we just carry the stuff out the door. We don't even go to the point of sale in order to make the purchase.
Yeah. There's no authenticity with them.
No.
It was fake, and you could tell it. But some people, oh, look at that, look at this. No. Are you blind, or are you just? I hate to say it. Are you retarded?
Well, and it's so funny to watch, like this week, all the left trying to. There was a picture of Waltz giving a speech where he's wearing like a flannel and a stocking cap, and he's covered in snow, and it was snowing in Minnesota. And they were like, "Oh, this is what a real leader looks like." Blah blah blah. This is what I'm like, because he's giving a speech in the snow. Earl, you and I have walked through the snow for 12 hours when we were the only people out there. There's a reason for that. We'll talk about that later. And nobody talked about how great we were for it. Like,
how about the fact
being out, dude, he lives in Minnesota. It's not like he was a candidate from Southern Texas who's given a speech in the snow where you're like, wow, he must be really uncomfortable. You're friggin' born and raised in the snow, and you look like a buffoon. And oh my God, this is what a real leader does. This is what a real leader does. I was like, what, look like an a-hole on TV? Like, geez, man. Like the stuff that and I know Joe brought up Harry Sisson earlier, the stuff that the left has tried to they've already gone on the attack, which we all knew they were going to.
It's been too quiet the last couple of days.
The stuff that they are trying to present as like, this is what real leadership is, and this is why Trump is bad, and this is why this person's bad, and this person's bad, is just so, I mean, it is so fabricated, and they're grasping at anything. You know, it blows my mind. They could look at the most perfect, absolute, perfect situation and be like, that's great, but it sucks because where I'm standing, there's a slight pothole. Like anything they can to try to exploit a BS narrative. And, I wanted to talk about Sisson for a second. One of the things, too, that Harry Sisson and a bunch of others on the DNC, people forget, if you've ever watched that guy do a long-form interview and anything where somebody pushes back slightly on him, he gets bodied. I mean, just lambasted. Because his whole career was 30-second TikToks where he's given information to say. And he is, I'll tell you right now, I have seen in a cow field steaming piles on the ground that have a higher intelligence level than Harry Sisson. And
his little
JoJo from Jersey's another one where she's,
my goodness.
the reformed meth head.
She he put out that photo with him and his boy band friends. This is what real men look like.
Yeah, exactly.
Holy shit, men look like Fruity Pebbles
like,
here.
Dude, you have a combined testosterone level of 9. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous.
Sorry,
dude.
Earl, too.
No, goody.
I was gonna say who's the guy that Tim Pool just destroyed in a debate? Another Harry Sisson like leftist who's been on the scene for all of 5 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't remember his name, but he's another one. And David Pakman, who's been around a little longer, but still
Brooklyn Daddy.
He's one of these leftists who
the Brooklyn
they
Dad.
have absolutely no idea what they're talking about. They have their talking points.
He lives like 5 miles from my house.
And then that's it.
Well, and what you're starting to see is the more realistic, tenured leftists who have a platform and have a history and are not dumb are starting, and Bill Maher is a big example, but there are other ones who are starting to say things like, look, you can't say that everything that comes out of Trump's mouth is bad or everything that he does is bad, because it's not. Even though we disagree here, we can agree here and blah, blah. And you're starting to see that because they realize that narrative is not going to fly. It didn't fly for the election. Look, it cost them the election. When the DNC was paying all of these influencers to turn around and do nothing but shit all over Trump for no reason and with no depth to their argument. I brought up Harry Sisson. He was on, I think it was what's that British dude's name that's on Fox?
Piers Morgan?
Thank you,
Piers. Yeah.
He was on with Piers and a couple of other people, and he got lambasted. And to the point, and he wasn't Luke
Who's
Beasley,
the wrestler
good
that
call.
goes on Greg Gutfeld show?
Who's what?
Titus. Not Titus.
Yeah. Titus. No, you're Titus, yeah.
Tyrus?
Oh, Tyrus.
Sorry.
Yeah, he ripped apart Sisson.
Yeah, on Piers Morgan's show. Yeah. And that wasn't the first time that's happened. And that's where the left, I think, hedged a bet this last election that cost them a lot. They dumped a lot of money into influencers. And the problem is these influencers were so easily exposed in any long format conversation. And
now, I don't know. Let me cut you off real quick because I don't know if you know. It was announced the other day, Kamala's headquarter Twitter account.
Yeah. Kamala HQ.
Did nothing but lie and was proven almost every single post was a lie. They've now all been hired to fact check Trump and then go out and spread the word of the Democrat.
You're kidding me.
I swear to God.
Wow.
My biggest financial mistake was not pretending to be a crazy leftist and make a ton of money off the DNC just telling bullshit. Like, that's really my biggest fault. Look, we talk about, they talk about money, they talk about campaigns and like blah, blah. People forget that in 15 weeks, Kamala spent over $1 billion and still lost
$1.2 billion
and still lost the goddamn campaign.
But yet she was going to be better for the country economically.
Yes. And they talk about how, he's rich and out of touch and blah, 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 blah. $1.2 billion and you blew it like it was Willie.
It was what?
And they were still $20 million in debt when it was all said and done.
And it was a
4-to-1 spending or something like that.
Yes. It was absolutely ridiculous. Another big thing that was spoken today, and I know the bill passed, and I there's a lot of where is it? Oh, I blame Joe for this.
Yes, I blame Joe Biden too.
Yeah, that was it. Biden. That's who I meant. Good call there, Joe, not Biden. I was blaming you.
That's my new name, Joe, not
Joe,
Biden.
not Biden. I love it.
Remember, this is so easy. This will be done tomorrow. We will keep men out of women's sports. It's over. Remember, this is so easy. This will be done tomorrow.
Over that comment on X.
You can tell.
Why is it so?
DNC hires former Harris staffers behind Kamala HQ for social media response to Trump. At least they have a job.
I for the life of me, intellectually, I understand why they're doing this, but it's still on another level mystifies me that this is even an issue.
Well,
Having dudes in women's sports just on a basic fairness level, a basic safety level, it just doesn't make any sense to me that they're fighting this hard for it. And one of the things that really gets me is that they always talk about these things. Well, when it comes to the Second Amendment and when it comes to other things, well, if it saves one life, well, then it's worth it. And it's like, well, ask the volleyball player in North Carolina how she feels about it. She's
or the Rehoboth.
It was 2 or 3 years ago, and she's still suffering the effects of that.
The field hockey player in Rehoboth.
Yeah, the field hockey player in Rehoboth.
What about all
and the basketball player up in what is it?
New Hampshire somewhere.
It's another one up there in Massachusetts.
Yeah. Dartmouth.
The team had to forfeit because the dude on the other team injured 3 of their players.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the girls were like, "Yo, we're not doing this anymore."
You know, I love how we talk about like we don't know
hundreds
Massachusetts
of stories
towns.
like that.
But Democrats sitting there voting against deporting illegal aliens that rape or beat women.
Yeah.
But
we're
for women. We're for women. We're for protecting women. But you beat or raped a woman and you're illegal, you could stay.
We're the feminists.
You guys all need to be sent in like a bad truck tire for regrooving. AOC firmly said trans girls are girls.
Well,
if AOC said it, well,
that, don't you guys
I stand
understand?
corrected.
I will tell you right now.
Don't you? They understand.
I will tell you right now. As the father to a daughter, I cannot understand how any part of you as a human being, there is nothing. There is no outside influence. There is no wanting to like be fashionable, as Clint Eastwood said. It's a hell of a price to pay to be fashionable, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how that becomes more important than your daughter. I don't know how you can allow, and I'm not even talking about the loss of scholarships and stuff like that. That's it. I'm not even there yet. Your daughter's well-being and how you are okay. And there are parents out there who are, with them playing against a male who is in a skirt on the same in contact sports. Look, if you want to talk about ping pong, hell, if you want to talk about Formula One racing, don't care, right? Because it's not necessarily, it's dangerous, but it's not necessarily a contact sport. I'm talking football. I'll tell you right now, when a female goes into a male-dominated sport like football and baseball, and they get hurt, everybody just says, well, that was kind of the risk you took, right? Because you were going into that as an individual and you were playing with a boy, but it's different when it's supposed to be the safe place. Hey, it's an all women's girls league. And then all of a sudden you have a dude built like me who's walking in and playing field hockey in a mini skirt and throwing elbows around. Look, I was a dirty hockey player. I had to be because I was terrible at it. I'd be elbowing the shit out of people.
Massachusetts.
Right? Yeah, of course. And you have them going into this with that intent. They failed at their own sport.
Yep.
So now they're going into another sport to try to be better. And now I'll start talking about the scholarships and loss of scholarships. And not because that person.
Let me interrupt you before you get to that. Can I interrupt you real quick before you get to that? Because you touched on something. You touched on something that I wanted to elaborate on, because when you talked about how you could allow your daughters to be involved in that, there was a story up in Canada of this dude who who pretends to be a woman, and he enrolled in a swim meet against teenage girls, and he was in the locker room changing with these girls, and the mothers there were okay with it. And my thing was, where are the dads? There were no dads around anywhere. And it's like, why didn't any of the dads of these girls issue a beat down to this guy? And of course, I got
hate for
excoriated for that because
What?
violence isn't an answer. And I'm like, when it comes to my daughter,
It is an answer.
as much of a Christian as I am, violence is an answer. It may not be the answer you want, but it's an answer.
Especially when that's the question.
Sometimes
Exactly.
violence is necessary.
Well, look, and
I don't get it.
I will present something too in that situation. I don't necessarily think we're talking Canada. Those mothers were probably not okay with it, but they were so worried about their image that they say they were. And that's even more upsetting to me.
That's even worse.
Yeah, because you're worried about your own self-preservation versus your child's self-preservation.
Yeah, exactly.
And that to me is mind-boggling. Look, I've said this before. If it's a non-contact sport, if it's competitive chess, it's whatever. I don't care, right? Let the best person win, right? Fine. But when you start getting into physically competitive sports, not every single female is a Jenny Finch when it comes to pitching a ball or whatever. And they shouldn't have to be. It doesn't mean that they're not good. But you look at I think it was either Venus or Serena Williams when years ago she did an interview and and she was like, it's a different game when you're playing with males. It's not the same game because they're so much stronger. They hit the ball so much harder. It's not tennis at that point. It's a different game for us.
And if she had said that now, because like you said, she said that like 10 or 12 years ago, something like that. If she said that now, she'd probably be excoriated by the left for saying such a thing.
100%. And it's funny because I can't think of her name, tennis player. She's she was from the 80s, glasses. She's an out lesbian, and I don't care about
Billie
that.
Jean King.
Billie Jean King, who's come out and spoken out against men playing in women's sports, saying this is ridiculous. You're absolutely
Martina Navratilova too.
That's who I was thinking of.
Okay,
that's who I was thinking of.
The Kardashians' stepfather. What's her name?
Bruce. No, it's Caitlyn now. Sorry, it's Caitlyn.
He's against. She's
100%.
Yeah,
100%. And look, I've said before, if you're an adult and you want to wear a skirt, if you're not bothering anyone, I don't give a shit. I think it's odd. But that being said, if you just want to go live your life, and Earl, when we worked the South End, we saw that on a regular basis. And
yeah, we did.
But the difference was back then, they weren't trying to be something they weren't. They were just cross-dressing to have fun. And they would go out and party or whatever. And they still acted like dudes outside of drag. They were gay dudes, but they were still dudes. You know what I mean?
Klinger knew to go to the men's room.
Oh no, I'll tell you on a call one time where some of the locals, the area Earl and I worked, Draper's Alley is what separated the projects from Unicorn Park. Unicorn Park was a very upscale brownstone neighborhood that had a huge gay population. And a couple of the project rats thought that they could cross into there and start static with some of these dudes, forgetting that they're just because they're gay, they're still dudes.
They're still dudes.
And these project kids got a beat down of their life because they're forgetting that they're still guys. And those guys are coming out of the house like, I spent $1.3 million on this house. You're not going to come over here and start tagging and whip the shit out of them. Whipped the shit out of them. It was the funniest thing I'd seen in a long time. But the trade-off is they weren't pretending to be something that they weren't. It was different. Dressing up on a Friday night and going out was not who they were. That's what they did for fun. And again, the little libertarian in me is like, I don't care what you do behind closed door with consenting adults over the age of 18. Don't care. That's between you guys. Have fun. Have a blast. But once you start thinking that you're going to cross over into, in this case, women's sports and girls and and I'm going to share AOC in a second, Joe. I saw you queued it up, and then you start getting into the scholarships, and it's not the scholarships that the males pretending to be females are getting, but also the statistics that they're altering. So some of these females can't get their scholarships. It's not It's not just that step in and now it's my scholarship. It's also keeping their numbers down where they would have normally been much higher to obtain that scholarship to go to college. And not all of these girls come from a rich families. Not a lot of these girls are trying for a scholarship so they can go forth and be successful women later in life. And it's an atrocity to me that I don't know where the feminists are. It's driving me crazy that the feminists are like, oh, they're women too, as we're about to see. Play it, Joe.
All these journalists are like, Congresswoman, are you going to the inauguration? Congresswoman, are you going to the inauguration? Are you going to the inauguration? Let me make myself clear. I don't celebrate rapists. So no, I'm not going to the inauguration tomorrow. All these journalists are like,
That's not the clip I thought it was. I thought it was the one with her saying that women or trans women are women. But bartender Barbie is not going to go.
No one gives a shit.
Nobody cares.
That clip right there might get her a lawsuit because she's directly calling him a rapist.
Right. And as we saw with little Georgie Stephanopoulos, it could cost her a bunch of money. The trade-off to that is
they just lost a major lawsuit too.
Major lawsuit. Everyone knew they were going to lose it, but they lost it officially.
$5 million, and plus now they're going to go into the punitive damages, and that could be a big payday.
Pain and suffering pays off a lot. It really does. And the other thing that's come up lately when you get into civil and tort cases is loss of happiness pays a lot as well.
So her running around, the rapist. I get tired of hearing that because I ask everyone, show me where he was convicted.
Right. He was never criminally charged. And the civil case with Eugene Carroll, I think, will eventually get thrown out because
he wasn't even charged with that one. He was found not guilty of rape.
Well, yeah, he was. Yeah, but even if he was, it's still the civil. Civil's not the same as criminal.
But still, even in that one, they went, no, he didn't rape her.
But and the difference is, and I know BZ is going to explain it better than everybody. BZ, civil decision versus a criminal prosecution. Go.
Civil relies upon preponderance of evidence. That's the threshold. Criminal, everybody's got to say you're guilty.
Mm-hmm.
Simple as that.
And in civil cases, it could be 52% of the jury. I know it ends up being 60, but it could be 51%, and you still get paid, but it's also not a criminal conviction. Ego.
What I don't understand, what I never understood, is how the law that how this case came about, the law that was amended to allow it to come about. I don't understand how that's constitutional. I really don't.
Well, you're not thinking in 4D terms, and you're also not thinking of the
like a leftist.
Yes. If you think like a leftist and you think 4D chess, it works out just fine. It is completely constitutional. Look, all the New York
if you
cases,
think like a leftist, then the Constitution doesn't even enter into the equation.
It doesn't exist. Look, all the New York cases, I think, eventually get tossed on appeal.
Easily.
I don't think the Fannie Willis case will ever go. I don't think it'll ever go now. I think it's done. And you know, it's funny. We didn't talk about the case out of Florida. There.
Who Fannie Willis's office could actually take that case?
Nobody.
They all answer to Fannie Willis.
100%, Joe. 100%. And this brings us down to really the last case that's out there. The Washington, D.C. case is gone, but then you have who's the idiot from The Hague? He just resigned officially as a special prosecutor. Huh? Jack Smith. Jack Smith. Well, he wasn't he at the international court prior to this, and they recalled him to be the
Was he?
So he was he was at the fake, he was at the fake court called The Hague. Which, by the way, for people who believe in The Hague isn't even a thing. It's just a theory. It's like our money is now. It's because people give credence to it that it exists, but it has no actual teeth. It has no actual ability. it has called Putin a war crime 1 billion times and convicted him absentia, and he's still sitting. It doesn't do anything.
What big case has Jack Smith won?
None.
All
if you look at his cases prior,
over.
he sucked as a prosecutor. He sucked as a prosecutor. And they released, what was it, half the files on the case that he was working right now. And the left was running with it. Oh, they're releasing the files and blah, 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 blah. And this will actually expose Trump for who he is. Have you heard a thing about it since he's released the files?
I've read bits and pieces of it, and there was nothing in there that we didn't already know.
Right.
There was nothing in there that hadn't already been talked about extensively.
It's so
ridiculous. If they release the second part, I'm not sure that that's really going to move the needle either, because if it would, they would have released that first.
They changed the subject real quick when they found there was nothing there, like they've done for the umpteenth time in the last, 8 years that they've been doing this.
Yep. And they're not going to stop. Well, they'll stop now because they don't have any way forward. And for everyone who's just joining us, you're listening to the SHR Media, the boys, as we were called, the Brew Crew earlier in chat, and I'm here for it. Talking about the inauguration, just talking about the next 4 years, talking about how we got here as a country, all the lawfare, all the BS. And I know it's late for some of you guys, mostly Earl. Joe, I know it's like 7 a.m. for you, so it's early actually.
Back in my day.
And we're not going to keep. My favorite thing is to try to keep Earl on so long that his head starts nodding.
Oh, Jesus. You are evil incarnate.
Hey, this isn't a new thing. You got to realize something. Earl and I go back with 25 years now.
Yeah. Close to it.
Yeah. And, what's funny is a mutual friend of ours, HW, I was talking to recently and brought up, and only Earl's going to laugh at this, and this is all right, brought up Good Times in Somerville.
Oh, yeah.
And I totally forgot that place even existed. And then she sent me the picture. She's like, "You remember this place?" And I was like, "Oh my God, I can't even begin to I don't want to remember that place for a lot of different reasons, but that's neither here nor there.
There are some nights I don't remember from that place.
I recall some nights where I was being lambasted because somebody else had interest in something that I was involved in, and I'll leave it at that. And you know exactly what I'm talking.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
You can neither confirm nor deny. You can neither confirm nor deny any accusation at this time as you may incriminate yourself.
Let's just say jealousy is a hysterical thing. So we're talking about the inauguration, and we're talking about the first, I don't know, day, and really a couple months. Joe, I'll throw it over to you. What do you want to see? First of all, what do you want to see Congress put on Trump's desk in the first 6 months? I think that's a good place to go.
Besides a budget, but I think I got a better chance of seeing Tooth Fairy.
Yes and no.
I still don't trust the House right now. Still, but border security.
That's fair.
Okay. Border security. Going to go to BZ.
There's going to be another pardon coming. And this is for an individual that it really shouldn't surprise anybody. There's a guy named Charles Edward Littlejohn, and people don't remember about him. But if you go into the Justice Department's database, this guy, who just began his 5-year sentence in May, has been placed in the, he's been given a clemency case number. BZ, who is this guy? He's a convicted felon who stole and leaked President Trump's tax records, along with thousands of other taxpayers, in the biggest U.S. data heist in U.S. history. He's on the road to being pardoned. Now, in terms of what's coming, I'd like to see the end of birthright citizenship. I'd like to see till 42. I'd like to see the mass deportations. Really, it's not all that tough, because when I was working in the main jail, if anybody came through that you thought was illegal and they had committed a crime, you'd flop a detainer on them immediately. So that's not going to be all that terribly difficult. Mass deportations, border wall, making law enforcement, giving them some power, tariffs. We'll wait and see about that. TikTok, I have something that's I have a very firm view on TikTok. Drill baby drill. I'm hoping that he can get through that and also eliminate the stupid EV mandate, because EVs did so well in Southern California. They were proven. The natural gas export ban.
BZ, along those lines, you just saw California withdraw their request to have
diesel
commercial
trucks.
vehicle. Yes.
But see, this shit wouldn't have happened had someone else like, Kemi Kackler been installed as president. All of this stupid shit would be on the table. Guaranteed. The only reason that you're seeing a slight flippage is because OMB is back in town.
Joe?
What made me laugh, and it's not the destruction and all that, and I don't mean to say it's laugh at the fire out there, is these electric fire trucks that every day have to go back to the firehouse.
They don't, though. They have a generator on board. I will say, because I looked into that, they actually have a diesel generator on board that is able to replenish the truck fully as long as it has diesel put in the engine. The trade-off to that is they're not really an electric engine if you have a diesel generator on board.
What?
Well, I've seen some reports. A couple of them don't have them and had to go back to get charged.
All the LA ones do.
All right. Well, you got other departments in there too.
Oh, yeah.
But still, you have a diesel generator.
Yep.
On a fire truck that normally has a diesel engine.
Yes.
That you can fill it up in 7 minutes.
Let's talk about LA for a second, because
they're afraid of smoke in the air.
They're afraid of a lot of things. They just don't know why the government told them. No, we're talking about LA for a second. Amazingly, Gavin Newsom this week ordered that the flags that are at half staff for the passing of Jimmy Carter be flown tomorrow at full staff for the inauguration. And during his speech today, Trump said this.
Send our love to everyone affected by the terrible wildfires raging in California. We're praying for you all. We love you all. We're going to be there very soon. I'm going to go out there on Friday to see it and to get it moving back. We're going to get some of the best builders in the world, and we'll get it moving back. And I also want to send our love to everyone affected.
So during Biden's visit, which was a day after the fire, Gavin Newsom said something to the effect of, "It's nice to have a president here that I don't have to kiss his ring to get funding." That is a callback to when Trump was out here when he was president before with the wildfires. One of the things that Trump said is, I essentially, and I'm paraphrasing here, I don't think we should keep dumping money, taxpayer money, when you guys aren't even maintaining the forest how you used to, and now these wildfires are worse. That is what Newsom has held on to. Oh, he said he's not going to give us funding. Trump never said that. But now you have Newsom who's like, and he had another tweet out today, say essentially he was looking forward to working with President Trump on funding and disaster relief, etc. And then you had Trump say this at the rally, and then you had Newsom order the flags at full staff. It brings up the fact that Gavin Newsom is full of shit, and he knew it, and now he has to play the game he doesn't want to play, because he's going to have Donald Trump on the ground Friday walking around the disaster area, and he is going to have to go to somebody who intellectually outranks him on a level of, I would say, me versus an amoeba. The amoeba can function, but I am slightly higher functioning slightly than an amoeba. It blows my mind how much bravado people like Newsom will throw out until the chips are down.
Well, that's sort of like the PM of the UK.
Canada?
What?
Prime Minister of Canada?
No, UK.
Steers.
The Fuhrer Steers.
Yeah,
He
Fuhrer
was
Steers.
saying that he would cut off ties unless Trump backed away from Elon Musk, and now he's going, "Oh, we're going to have a great working." He went from threatening to back away to, "Oh no, we're going to have a great working agreement."
Well, my comment on that was, what does your defense ministry think about your comments about separating from the U.S., seeing how I think we provide 80% of their defensive technologies?
My response
BZ.
Bye-bye.
BZ, I can see you almost vibrating to comment about Gavin Newsom. By the way, the only man brave enough to have that much hair grease in his hair and stand near an open ignition source the last couple of weeks. Go ahead, BZ.
I just have a question. I lived under there until I couldn't take all that stupid bullshit anymore.
Yeah, stop bragging.
But I had the ability to do that, and it's nice to look back and watch California implode from afar. But having said that, how has Gavin Newsom, if at all, been damaged? Will he be the great white hope for 28?
Nope.
As he believes he will, or is any of Karen Bass going to rub off on his ass?
So I'll present my response to that.
Okay.
Gavin Newsom's between a rock and a hard place. And I was having a conversation not too long ago with somebody who's worked high up in California government for a long time. We were talking about this. The threat of a recall is so real for Newsom right now that he is actually going to work with Trump. You notice the last couple of days, he's backed away from those comments. If Gavin Newsom even enters a recall, it doesn't matter if he wins or loses. If he enters a recall, his political aspirations are done. Done.
I thought James Woods said there's a recall. They got it.
It's not 100% yet. They haven't done all the official legal things. They have enough signatures, but their signatures are not the state ballot signatures. It's on change.org and stuff like that, where people from all over the place can sign it.
Okay.
But I'll tell you right now, the threat of a recall being legitimate is 100% real in the state. And if that happens, even if he wins the recall, he's done politically forever, which is why he's starting to change his tune. He's starting to all of a sudden be like, well, we're happy to have Trump out here and we're going to work together and blah, 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 blah. I hope we can work together and be pals. And I really like Trump. And he's not really that bad of a guy, because contrary to what he said and a lot of other leftists said, it might be, contrary to what a lot of leftists said, Trump did not withhold any funding during the Paradise fires and all the other fires that they tried to say he did withhold funding from.
They lied about Trump?
Go figure, right? Who would have thunk
never.
It? As far as Bass, I think Bass is done. I think she is a cooked bass as we speak. Yes, that was easy, and I said it because I'm an idiot.
Well,
I also think
the bus didn't help it either.
You have to understand, LA just recalled Gascon because crime was so out of control. There was a report from an organization called the Free Press that just came out about the LA fire stations. I retweeted it. If you don't have a chance, check it out. And essentially how underfunded the fire department is, how horribly mismanaged the fire department is, and how many stations they have that are just decrepit, black mold. They have a door that's been broken that I think it said 8 months, where the fire engine is being housed in a tent next door and they have to stay in the tent.
Right-wing conspiracy theories.
Just all right-wing conspiracy theories. The firefighters are essentially under order that if they talk to media, they're essentially going to be bounced. But I think Karen Bass is going to be the sacrificial lamb for Gavin Newsom. I think she's going to be recalled. I think you will see Newsom eventually change his tone on the LA City. Remember, the deputy mayor who would have been in charge if he wasn't under investigation for calling in a fake bomb threat to City Hall, that is who she selected as her deputy mayor. That's ongoing. I think that she is going to fall on the sword to protect Newsom. I don't know if it'll be enough. Earl, I can see your hat flipping, waiting to talk, so speak, sir.
Yeah, Karen Bass is done. I'm pretty sure that recall effort is going to go through, is going to sail through. I think she's all done. And I honestly think Gavin Newsom is done, regardless of what overtures he makes towards Trump. I think the horrible mismanagement, and people have been talking about the mismanagement of the forest for years. There have been numerous fires that have been attributed to this already. And I think just the sheer volume of devastation from this one, I don't think he can recover from, no matter what he does. He's a talented politician, for sure. He can talk his way out of almost anything. I don't think he's going to be able to talk his way out of this one. I think he's done.
I would tend to agree with you. Joe, I'm leaving you last because you're a resident firefighter. I know you don't have as much wildland experience, but I know you have a lot to say about this. So the floor is yours, sir.
Well, Gavin Newsom sitting there, spouting all that bullshit. Everything's a lie. Go to this website and don't forget to donate. And who's that donation site? Act Blue. For those who don't know who Act Blue is, they are not giving that money to anybody from that fire. They are a political donation site. They are also being questioned about some questionable donations that they took during the last presidency, because they have admitted that
a lot of dark money there.
Yeah, dark money and foreign money they were accepting.
Yes,
is highly illegal.
Sorry.
I feel sorry for the fire line guys, the ones out there fighting the fire. They're putting their lives on the line with failed equipment, no water. And listen, we all know there's no goddamn water. The reservoirs weren't built. The reservoirs weren't filled. They're more worried about a cuttlefish that's not even native to California. That's been talked to. Everybody's blue in the face. But these guys...
And they can't find it. They can't find a fish anymore.
The last guys are going out there was 5.
Like 5. These guys are going... Men and women, excuse me, I don't mean to be sexist. They're going out there and they're putting their lives on the line. I'll tell you, I had 20 years firefighter. I hated doing woodland fires. In fact, I did one. And I will admit, one of the reasons I didn't like doing it, holy shit, is that labor intensive. Second, you're going into a fire without water a lot of times. You got a chainsaw, an axe, and a shovel. Yeah, that's not my idea of fighting a fire. I didn't send me into a burning building that's ripping it all around me. I've been walking in cardboard up to my waist that was all on fire. That's fine. Don't no wildland. Those guys are above and beyond the men and women. And it's sad that politics, and one of the reasons I'm glad I'm out of the business, because I'm going to back it up to after 9/11. You had a bunch of liberals that saw all the not accommodations, but all the celebration of the firefighters and the awards for the EMTs and all that. And then they're like, oh, we want that. And they have come in and they have destroyed the emergency services in this country.
Yes.
Top to bottom, they've destroyed it.
I agree.
Now you need degrees. You need this. You need that. this is going to sound no hazing. One of the proudest moments of my life was when I turned 18 and became a senior member. And 5 guys grabbed a hold of me as they, all they did is shoved ice down my pants. It's still fucking cold as hell. But
Joe actually pays people to do that now.
Yeah. But I became a part of a group. I became a part of those guys. I proved myself. And they showed this is their way of, they've done worse. They've stripped guys and dropped them off north end of town and told them to walk home. But I'm sure you guys understand what I'm talking about, too.
Don't know what you're talking about. Good.
No idea.
None.
That's all been destroyed, and they're more worried about what your fucking pronoun is, who you're sleeping with, how many sexes you have, whether you identify as a sex, whether you identify as a dog. Maybe having a dog out there would be better. They can at least piss on the fire.
I got to tell you, I had one call. Well, I actually had 2 calls, but there was one call I went on when I was working in the hood, and I had to go into a burning apartment, and I never had so much more respect for firefighters than I did after I came out of that apartment looking for people who may have been trapped and coughing up black smoke for the next few hours. I mean,
and what's the first thing they say?
Firefighters get all the respect as far as I'm concerned.
Well, what's the first thing they say after coughing up all that black shit? Well, back in my day, they would give me a cigarette.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was one of them. Goddamn cigarette. And we had a canteen that would give out free packs of cigarettes if we were on a fire scene too long.
Wow.
Well, and Earl, I actually 78A Aguadilla. It was right around there that I had the same sort of incident, and that brought me to a place where I've said time and again, I will make fun of firefighters all day long until something's actually on fire.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And then I will be happy to stand down the end of the street and direct traffic.
And he does, folks, because how many times I get a drag hoser comment.
Calm down, hose dragger. I'll kick you off the air. You're outnumbered 3-1 right now, Joe.
Barca
Here's your donuts.
Joe, wait, BZ the Barca Lounge? Yes. The best part of working at law enforcement was when you got to go to the fire station and eat food, because that's what they were really good at. So, Joe, I know you followed it, and I know, I know, given your history, you obviously have strong opinions about it. The leadership during the LA fires has been called into question, and one of the videos that was going around. Hold on.
I know where this is going.
No, you don't. you can't Bogart me every chance you get. Hold on. I gotta throw it around so it's right. Is this one? And I want your reaction.
Oh, God.
Oh no, I need sound.
Whether it's a medical call or a fire call, that looks like you. It gives that you want to see somebody that responds to your house, your emergency, whether it's a medical call or a fire call, that looks like you. It gives that person a little bit more ease, knowing that somebody might understand their situation better. Is she strong enough to do this? Or you couldn't carry my husband out of a fire, which my response is, he got himself in the wrong place if I have to carry him out of a fire.
Yeah, go ahead and say that on a scene.
I want to see somebody that responds to your
Your fucking ass couldn't carry anything more than a bag of Cheetos.
I have never, in all my years, and I'll admit that most of my career was EMS. That was my main as an EMT. I never had a single person ever say, "You don't look like me. Don't save my life." Just like I told a boss when they complained about my tattoos. I never had a patient say, "Don't save my life because you got tattoos. I don't want you touching me." All they care about in that moment is saving their lives, saving their loved ones. That's all they care. They don't care what you look like. They wouldn't care if you were fucking purple and on fire. As long as you're saving their life, that's all they care. That is a liberal propaganda to try to justify the bullshit that they're doing. And to sit there and, well, if you weren't in that position, I wouldn't have to save you. Yeah. Let one of my crew say that, and they would not be on my crew ever again.
I talked about that on one of my shows after that happened, and there was a disabled person who was had been a child actor, but had cerebral palsy and was blind, adult now, obviously, and his mother had a broken arm and couldn't get him out of the house, and she went to go get help, and by the time she came to get help, the house had burned down, and her son was dead.
Oh.
And basically what she just said is he was too invalid, he was too stupid, he was too whatever to get himself out of that situation, or he got himself into that situation somehow, and that was on him. That's basically what she said.
Yeah.
And the fact that she still has a job right now is infuriating right now.
Can you imagine had anyone else said that?
Oh
God.
my.
Well, and I want to.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
I've dealt with gangbangers getting shot. I mean, from every walk of life I've dealt with. Yeah, afterwards I may make comment to my partner. We may make some jokes. We may, when we're back in the building by ourselves, say some things, but that's a little bit different. But I've never disrespected a patient.
Well, what gets missed in all that is she says, if your husband put himself in this situation, essentially that's on him.
Yeah.
So
I never.
What she's saying is guys should be able to get out of those situations, and obviously, guys can walk through fire. And that's her words essentially, and not mine. And I don't necessarily agree with it, but she said it, not me. So
I could see that I've ever.
You notice how she didn't say wife. I'm just saying.
A guy that stole a car, flipped it 4 times, took off running, then came back. It was like, my back hurts, carry me. And I was like, nope, if you can run, you can get on the stretcher.
Yeah.
But that's the closest I've ever done to that type of thing. I mean, but he showed that he wasn't that hurt.
Well, there's another video from the LA Fire Department that was released that's along those lines that I want to watch and get everyone's reaction from.
You trying to get my blood pressure up?
The reality is that you're not one of the boys who have legs. You'll never be one of the boys who have legs. But you can be a good firefighter. People see you and they're like, wow, look at you, They're so excited. Like, he's a firefighter and he's got no legs. Because there's not a lot of us for some reason.
Don't laugh.
If you're also a member of the legless community, you want to see somebody that responds to your house, your emergency, whether it's medical call or fire call, somebody that looks like you and also doesn't have legs that work. It gives that person a little bit of more ease knowing that this person might understand their situation a little better. People love that I'm a wheelchair firefighter going around the community kicking butt. I mean, not literally because of the legs that don't work.
Don't laugh, guys.
It's a metaphor. Every time you see a firefighter in a movie or show, they have legs and they're walking. The media plays such a big role in everybody's lives now that it's so powerful for people to see a positive, uplifting portrayal of a firefighter that's just rolling around. If you start thinking about the leg challenge, you think of desk jobs, you think of any job that you have to sit for a long time. You think about somebody who might be a headmaster for a school for gifted youngsters, but you wouldn't think of a firefighter when it's something that is actually a reality for many of the unlegged community. You can't be it if you can't see it. And so that's why it's so important for young members of the leg-free community to see us riding around on fire trucks. Plus, it's fun. Is he strong enough to do this? Or you couldn't carry me out of a fire? Or does he have enough legs for this? Which my response is, you got yourself in the wrong place if you need me to wheel you out of a fire.
No kidding.
It's basically your fault. I was the first
he's right.
paraplegic person to be promoted to the rank of battalion chief. With each promotion, more eyes come on you, more scrutiny. They want to know, does he know what he's doing? Does he keep his crew safe? Can he get into a house that has more than a moderately sloped ramp? Some people walk in with the respect already. But as a person born with leg deficiency, you have to know your stuff. You're not given the opportunity not to know it. Not given, you have to know it. When it comes to the walking impaired and being a firefighter, you're capable of doing it. It's not a bipedal normative person's world. It's not a bipedal normative person's field. I'm here. I'm a man. And I'm doing it.
Sean, you laugh, but wait till you hear.
So
don't laugh, because that the next town over, we had a guy who was cerebral palsy, needed 2 crutches to walk, and he sued and won, and they had to put a lift on the fire truck to get him on the fire truck. They had to give him turnout gear and give him a chance to go into a burning building.
Well, the best part about that, and you missed the little clip at the end where he said, "And I'm also a lesbian," is from the Babylon Bee.
I did. Perfect. But that pretty much happened in New Jersey.
I've said a million times, the problem with satire, the best part of satire is when it's so true, you don't know if it's satirical or not. And that was one of those ones that I was blown away when I saw that, because I said, whoever the genius was that wrote that, I Pulitzer Prize. That's a Pulitzer Prize waiting right there, just deservingly so.
That was awesome.
It was the guy to go in the fire could only, he had to drag himself through the house. He had to get special accommodations to get his fire cert, and then sued because he couldn't get up on the fire truck. So they had to put a handicap lift on the fire truck.
How delayed. That's like me suing to become an astronaut and turn down because I'm fat and out of shape and I have no idea what it takes to be an astronaut.
But don't you deserve to be an astronaut? Really?
Sean in chat said WTF. Yeah, it was the Babylon Bee, but it reiterates the point of, if it wasn't so close to being true, you wouldn't have questioned it. And it's sad. It's a sad state of affairs. Look, I've said this before and I've said it again. If I'm sleeping in my bed at 3 a.m. and a fire starts, and before I can do anything about it, I'm overcome with smoke inhalation, which, Joe, how many times have you seen that as a professional firefighter? Right. Enough where you can't keep count, right?
Yeah.
How is that my fault? And how is it my fault to the point where it says, well, if you got yourself into that situation, that's your own fault, right? And that's
any situation. I mean, well, he's having a heart attack. Well, you put yourself in that situation. You had a steak the other night and you shouldn't have done it. You're having a diabetic emergency. Well, you had a soda, so you.
Which somebody's probably going to say the steak thing to me in the near future when I have my heart attack.
I saw down here in Florida, we were having a real bad meth problem.
Yeah.
Or not meth,
fentanyl.
Fentanyl. And they were like, well, if they OD more than once, we shouldn't have to save their life. They put themselves in this situation. I'm like, that's not our job to decide. Our job is to go in there and save everybody.
And for the other 2 gentlemen on this podcast or on this show, how many times have you gone to a call where your first concern is, well, you shouldn't have been there when I've gone there, versus handling the call, identifying a victim, making sure that victim's needs were met, and bringing the bad guy to jail? And that's the equivalent of it. To say that the person who is, that's number 12, to say that the person shouldn't have been in that situation is literally equivalent of saying, well, the dress was too short and she shouldn't have worn it.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And that is unbelievably monstrative. It is unbelievably evil. It is unbelievably horrible.
Do you remember a time when Republicans were making stupid comments like that several decades ago, and now it's how the tides have changed?
Yeah. I think I was drinking at O'Keefe's when the tide has changed.
Sean chastised me about that. Do you remember about 3 years ago? You said I shouldn't be wearing that dress and I shouldn't be seen in public with that.
It was for an entirely different reason, BZ.
Oh, okay.
The problem is you were wearing a long T-shirt and that was it. And you also wore a belt for some reason.
You said
I don't
my
even know
colors
why.
flashed. You said I'm not a summer, and then you didn't like my heels.
The truth is, Sean liked it too much.
I did not like his heels. That's 100% guaranteed.
He liked the short skirt.
So first 6 months,
say I looked really good in culottes.
I believe what I said is you looked really good in a tent. I think that's really what I said.
Omar?
Yeah, whatever. So we discussed the first 6 months. Obviously, the inauguration happens tomorrow. BZ said 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 on the East Coast. It is
12 hours, 20 minutes.
Yeah, not that long at all. Which means that when we all wake up tomorrow, we have to look to see what the Biden administration did overnight and what they dumped. We talked about what
he had a busy day at the church, so he might be sleeping late.
Joe's never had a busy day in his life. By the way, his
puppeteers are hard at work. Trust me.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Statistically, he's had more early caps to his day on his schedule and more vacation than any other president in history.
40% of his time was on vacation.
Yeah, God, I want that job. I would be the worst president ever. And the reason it being is I would spend all my time at Camp David. He went to Rehoboth Beach. Have you ever seen Camp David? Have you ever heard about Camp David? It's gorgeous. It's a beautiful place to be. It's got a heated pool. It's got I would spend I would actually do my entire presidency from Camp David.
It was for FDR initially.
Yeah, it was. Actually, Camp David's a beautiful place. It's a great retreat.
You helped to design it, BZ?
Yes, I did. Thank you very much. I'll be here all night. Tip your waitress.
He was actually the senior architect for the entire thing. BZ's been around.
The wheel.
He pulled out the designs from the pyramid.
And the biggest problem I think that people had with Biden and vacations is you knew he wasn't engaged when he'd go on vacation. I don't.
He was married.
Yeah, you asshole. Why would you even think? I mean, come on. Joe. One other thing is, and as much Obama took a lot of vacations too, and as much as I disagree with his policies, whatever, I never felt that he was out of touch, his policies being what they may, from reality when he was on vacations. Like I felt like if something happened, I may not agree with what he would do when he got there, but he got there. That is something that I think the vast amount of Americans did not feel about Biden. When he was passed out on the beach and he looked like a corpse that they should have called an ME for, which was 80% of the time that he was on vacation. It's scary. And it goes back to the lie that the American people were told that all of us saw through and the left for some reason never questioned. We're not going to get that anymore. And we know every time Trump plays golf in the next 4 years, they're going to talk about how all he does is play golf and he's only been in the White House. Yeah. The comparison of age and ability and cognitive ability, do you at any point feel that Trump is disengaged from what he's doing? Because I think it's the opposite. I think he is one of those hyper-focused people, probably to a fault, maybe even a little autistic. And I don't mean that in a negative way whatsoever, where it's like he has to play golf to turn the brain off from everything else that he's doing. Or am I just way off with that theory? BZ, you've been quiet for way too long.
He's up at 4. He goes to bed at midnight. That's how the dude is. That's how he gets all this stuff done. Yeah, we could expect all the golf similes and metaphors, all that kind of stuff. One thing I want to ask you guys is, because we're talking about the inauguration for tomorrow, you guys, I'm sure, saw the stories indicating local police departments are refusing to help DC secure Trump's inauguration. Did you guys hear why that is?
No.
No.
Okay. In a lawsuit settlement, this is originally now DC Police is MPD, Washington Metro Police Department. So they refer to it as MPD. So outside agencies, due to DC's restrictive LOAs, are not going to expose their officers to the risk of being unable to defend themselves. They settled the lawsuit. MPD settled a lawsuit in which they agreed to restrict the use of sting balls, explosive devices on protesters and rioters to include gas and munitions. And the outside agencies have said essentially, we're not going to expose our officers to your criteria, which restricts you, but not us. And if you don't change the LOA, letter of agreement, between all the outside agencies and yourselves, we are not going to put our officers, our beloved officers, in jeopardy in that fashion. It's not about Trump. It's not about the outside agencies. Oh, we're not going to protect Trump. We hate OMB. It's about protecting outside agencies from MPD agreements, like
which is
federal
how
consent decrees, which they settled and agreed to.
And
That's what it's about.
How it was presented in the news is local law enforcement does not want to assist MPD with inaugurational duties because of Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And that is mainstream media.
Shit.
Being mainstream media. It is horrific.
Mainstream media is twisting something.
Well, let me bring up this other thing as well. Joe Vegetable said the 28th Amendment is the law of the land. Folks.
Oh my gosh. I
sit down, because there is no such thing as the 28th Amendment.
Nope, BZ, you're wrong. The president said it, so it exists.
It must be true.
100% true, buddy.
Kamala posted about it too.
Oh yeah, sure. It wasn't just Biden. It was about Cami Cackler as well. Amendments are taken up and ratified by the states, not by decree or fiat, because he fucking feels like it. An amendment gets proposed by 2/3 vote of both the House, both houses of Congress, and if 2/3 of the states all get together and say, hey, we as one want this, then they can open up what's called a constitutional convention. But Mr. Dickweed and Mrs. Dickweed cannot, by fiat, declare that there is an amendment and it's passed and it's the rule of the land. And
well, and
these shit sticks believe it.
Yeah.
Isn't
the sad thing is that
Equal
there were
Rights
a
Act of
number of
1972?
Yeah, 1972 is when this started. It had 7 years.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that there are so many elected officials, senators, and representatives who retweeted that and acted like it was true,
Totally
acted
normal?
like it was real. They didn't push back and say, "Well, we didn't vote on this, so this isn't true." No, they went with it, and like we were supposed to go with it. Like we're that stupid that we don't realize that he's completely full of it.
Isn't that called propaganda?
It was amazing.
But we're the ones that need to be throttled.
It was two courts that voted that amendment never passed, and the National Archive just recently told them, no, it is not a constitutional amendment. I mean, what more does he want? Oh, that's right, because they're above courts. They don't have to listen to courts. They don't listen to courts.
Let me put this down to the most layman's terms.
Biden.
Let me put this down to the most layman's terms that I can. This is the equivalent of me going to a bar, speaking to a woman, and being like, oh no, I have a full head of hair. I have a full head of hair.
Mhm.
It's beautiful. It's luxurious. It's fabulous. And I have a full head of hair. It
I weigh
doesn't.
150 pounds.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought
Like,
you were going to say you had a big penis, but
no, I
And
wouldn't
a
lie
big
about
penis.
such things. The amount of bullshit that statement was and is
That's an
beyond the. It is an insult, Joe. Yes.
you are so stupid you don't know basic
Yes.
civics that I can say whatever I want and you're going to believe it.
Bingo.
And the sad part is, I think it was Biggie said, people believe it.
That is how stupid they think you are.
Mhm.
And that is the lies that they will tell you in order to promote their propaganda. And we talk all the time about disinformation and misinformation. They were about to have some wingnut be in charge of the disinformation committee, blah, 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 blah. And Biden comes out and, like Joe pointed out, a whole bunch of other people in government said, oh, the 28th Amendment is real. It's not frigging real. It is a lie. It is an exaggeration. It is, as Goebbels would tell you to do, you repeat a lie until you get
Until it
people
becomes
to
a truth.
believe a truth.
Bernays.
Well, originally Bernays, yes.
We are the journalists. That man right there is the journalist. That man over there is the new journalist. That man over there is the
Owes
new
me a drink.
journalist.
Oh, yeah, that too.
The American media maggots are not.
I
They
bought
will
the last
challenge
one,
nothing, and they are absolutely incurious.
For the record, I bought the last round, just so you remember. But Beezy's 100% right. And you brought up Bernays. And for a lot of people who don't know, Bernays was the propaganda person. No, Bernays, don't get saucy with me, Bernays, History of the World, Part 2, Mel Brooks. But Bernays himself was the propaganda minister under Woodrow Wilson, the first progressive president in the United States of America, who had a stroke a year and a half into his presidency, and then his wife ran everything after the fact, her and Bernays. They had what was called the 6-minute men, who would go into silent theaters at that point. It took 6 minutes to change the reels, and they would stand up and promote progressive propaganda in front of the audience. And they were paid for by the Wilson administration. So there's your little bit of history for the night. But Goebbels essentially read Bernays's book and used all of his tactics in the rise of Nazi Germany in the 30s. So when you talk about Goebbels, you talk about Bernays. When you talk about Bernays, you talk about Woodrow Wilson. Woodrow Wilson was the first destructive president in our nation's history, and he was not a good person. Neither was his wife, and they should not be lauded. They should not be applauded. They should be sent back to the bottom of the history books, and it should be understood that they were more trustworthy creatures laying on the bottom of their backs in ponds. And it is.
Well, there are some people who would say that Woodrow Wilson is the worst president in our history. Jimmy Carter, Obama, and Biden notwithstanding. I don't know if I agree with that, but
number 2 already.
Well, a lot of people don't know enough about Woodrow Wilson to know why he was the worst president in our history, because they have rewritten history, they have revisionist history, and they have taught things about Woodrow Wilson that were not true. Woodrow Wilson was a piece of shit. And if you look at everything that's wrong in our country right now, when I talk about the 100-year plan with Democrats, it goes back to Woodrow Wilson. And that is entirely truthful. You can look it up. You can do whatever you want. Woodrow Wilson was garbage. I mean, honestly, the best thing that probably happened to this country is him having a stroke. So how's that for niceties? Yep, go ahead. I said it.
Promoting violence. Oh, geez.
No. I didn't promote violence. His body did that to himself by being a fat.
Agreeing with it. You were promoting violence.
So the last video I have is 4 minutes long. And before we get to that, and we're going to stop at the top of the hour, this has been a wonderful catch up of the last 4 years, a wonderful preview into the future as to what the next 4 years might bring. I have changed my show, as all of you know, and maybe the listeners don't, to Monday and Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. on the East Coast, because I am taking up the original Sackhead spot, which is what we ran for years. One of the things I want to do with my fellow hosts here is an open invitation, no request needed. You just tell me the link. And on Wednesday nights, not Monday nights, Monday nights, you fuckers stay away from me. On Wednesday nights,
we have to put it in triplicate.
Yes. On Wednesday nights, I want to do kind of an open night mic with you boys when you have the ability, when you have the potential. And we will come in and be as raw and old school as we can for SHR Media and the Sackheads Radio Show on the edge of liberty. And it would be an honor to have any of you on. And gentlemen, I appreciate all that you brought to the show tonight and all that you bring to your shows every week.
Do we get to smell the Mimios?
Yes, why not?
Good.
Okay, just wanted to double check.
You guys don't remember that?
Yes, I do.
I didn't hear what you said.
I said, do we get to smell the Mimios? That predates you. That's okay. Yeah. Move on.
Let's go around the horn.
Yeah, nothing to see here. Move on.
Before we close out, Jersey Joe, sir, before I kick you out of the room, tell everyone where they can find you, sir.
In the seat. Every Monday, Friday.
And what a flat seat it is.
Yes, it is. Now you do it. Every Monday and Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the right coast, not that left coast shit. You can catch me on all the SHR media, social media, and YouTube. Everything's all there. That's it.
At Jersey Joe Talks on X. I thought you'd get better at this over time. Really, I didn't think I should be doing your promo for you.
I've never been good at promoting myself.
At Jersey Joe Talks on X, Reverb Common Sense, Monday and Friday night here on SHR Media at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. on the East Coast. Dear God, man, do I have to come and tie your shoes?
No, but you want to? Never mind.
Not even kinda. I'd stab you in the throat first. Joe, buddy, it's always a pleasure, sir. Thank you for joining us tonight. We're going to go down. I'm going to do it by age, so I'm going to let E go first because, 40-year difference or 50-year difference or 100-year difference. E, you're up.
It's not quite that much, but yeah, you can catch me on the Mission Ready Men podcast on, when is it? Let me see. Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Tuesday and
at
Thursday.
11 a.m. At 11 a.m. Central. Almost fell into Jersey Joe's mode there. But yeah, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 11 a.m. Central.
Which is 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. East.
Yes.
Yes. I'm just helping out.
I'm going to do math.
No. I've seen your math. We've split a bill.
Yeah. I got nothing. But yeah, and you can also find us on at Mission Ready Men on all the socials: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Truth, and TikTok for as long as it's up. And you can follow me in all those places. And I'm looking forward to the next 4 years and seeing what that will bring.
Biggie, thank you, sir. And I love you. We go back a long time, and it's
absolutely
still to this day, it's an honor to have you on the network with us. So thank you, sir.
Glad to be here, brother.
All right. I know it's late for you. Go to bed.
Have a good one.
You too.
Aloha.
BZ.
That's me. One each.
The bulbous one. The Boloviating Zeppelin.
If you listen to my show, I promise to give you one of these. You'll get the biggest ribeye you've ever seen. That's actually prime rib. So if you come and partake of my show, I will send you 2 2 of those prime ribs right there. By the way, I am BZ. I am your conservative Sherpa. I am guiding you through the maelstrom of Democrat, leftist, globalist lies, chaos, deceit, and betrayal. I am on Tuesday and Thursday nights, select and exclusive Tuesday and Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Central, 11 p.m. Eastern. I am fundamentally changing America one leftist diaper at a time. I invite you near and far, come and watch on Twitch, on the SHR Media YouTube channel. I am at BZ's Saloon on X. You can watch there at BZ's Saloon. I also Bigfoot Sean's X channel, and so you can watch me on at BZ's Saloon on X and at 2 Against Tyranny, comma, thank you, Sean. And it's grand, it's grandiose. There's videos, there's free prime rib. What more could you ask for in a show? I submit, and vodka. I am a big believer in vodka. I am fueled by BZ's Kettle One KC 135 refueling team, as evidenced here. Thank you. Thank you for watching tonight. Thank you, Big Sean, for inviting me into this show. It is, in fact, bulbous.
It is an honor, a privilege, and I don't say this enough, but I truly appreciate you, sir. I truly thank you for all that you do for the network, and I truly know that I will live longer than you.
Don't count on it.
Luckily, you're just angry enough to just hold on until about 120. BZ, sir, it is an honor and a privilege, and I mean that wholeheartedly. Thank you, sir. Have a good night. And for me, my new schedule, every Monday and Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. on the East Coast, right here on the SHR Media Network. Monday nights will be me. I will do my normal angry, loud show that I try to do, trying to keep politicians accountable, trying to keep our country going in the right direction, trying to keep reality, which does not happen enough in this world. On Wednesday nights, you will get the Edge of Liberty right here on the SHR Media Network, but with guests, with friends of the show, some old, some new. As you saw, Cheetah, who has been listening to Sackheads, back 15 years now, an old friend of the show. I just posted his comment. We will do everything we can to make SHR Media the legacy that it deserves to have. And I may be a little bit older, I may be a little bit fatter, but I am just sarcastic and angry as I always been. Thank you to the listeners who've stuck with SHR Media for years. Listeners like Cheetah in chat. It means the world to us. You have no idea how important it is for us to be able to come on here, do what we do, and have listeners like Cheetah and others show up, interact with the show, enjoy the show, provide their comment, provide their insight. And it's not just, drive-bys. Cheetah's a lawyer, smart dude, brilliant dude, been around for a long time, has been a great influence on the show. And it's the listeners that drive this show, but more importantly to me, it's the citizens of this nation, this wonderful nation that I do this show for. It is for our future, and not just my future, the future of our children, the future of our children's children. We were an experiment as a nation, and an experiment that has turned out miraculously. And we have our ups and we have our downs. But we need to hold on to the founders' ideas. Even through the downs, we need to hold on to our founders' beliefs. And so many amazing patriots who have pontificated and written since. I've said it before and I will say it again. I am a commentator. I'm not a genius. I am not a constitutional professor. I'm a commentator. But when I commentate, it has to do with what our nation was founded on, what our nation believes in, and it has to do with the freedoms that we hold on to so dearly, and we need to. Tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern, Donald J. Trump gets sworn in as president. And as of right now, this is the best chance that our country has to go back to being amazing, to, yes, go back to making America great again, but go back to a time emotionally where our nation believed in its greatness, even with our faults. And that's something, that hope, that little burning bit of hope that you get for a brighter future for you, for your children, is something that we need to constantly foster and let that build into a burning flame. We are the shining city on the hill. We are where everybody wants to be. We are a country of greatness. And yes, you could say that there is amount of conceited statements going on there, and we're self-centered and we think we're awesome, blah, 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 blah. Well, we are. Our people are. Even the ones I don't agree with. We're an awesome nation. We're a good nation. We're good people. And hopefully, over the next 4 years, we can broaden that belief and make it a reality. Thank you for joining us for the last 3 hours. I am going to close with what I thought was one of the funnest moments of tonight's events in Washington, D.C., the rally for Donald Trump, the celebratory rally. And I just want you to enjoy this. Check us out, shrmedia.com. Thank you and good night.
Young man, there's no need to feel down. I said, young man, pick yourself off the ground. I said, young man, cause you live in the town. There's no need to be unhappy. Young man, there's a place you can go. I said, young man, when you're short on your dough, you can stay there. And I'm sure you will find many ways to have a good time. Come on, everybody. It's fun to stay at the YMCA. Fun to stay at the YMCA. They have everything for you to enjoy. You can hang out with all the boys. Fun to stay at the YMCA. Fun to stay at the YMCA. You can get yourself clean. Have a good meal. Do whatever you feel. Young man, are you listening to me? I said, young man, what do you want to be? Young man, you can make million dreams, but you got to know this one thing. No man does it all by himself. I said, young man, put your pride on the shelf. Just go there to the YMCA until they can help you do this. All right, everybody. It's fun to stay at the YMCA. It's fun to stay at the YMCA. They have everything for your mental God. You can hang out with all the boys. Fun to stay at the YMCA. Fun to stay at the YMCA. You can get yourself clean. Have a good meal. Do what you like to be. Young man, I was once in your shoes. I said I was down and out with the blues. I felt no man. I was alive. I felt the whole world was so tired. That's when someone came up to me and said, young man, Take a walk up the street, it's a place there called the YMCA. They can start you back on your way. Everybody, it's fun to stay at the. It's fun to stay at the YMCA. They have everything for your man to enjoy. You can hang out with all the boys. It's fun to stay at the YMCA. Young man, there's a way to feel down. Young man, pick yourself off the ground. YMCA.